game fast. But there's so much more that goes into it than what's on the surface. People spend hundreds of hours practicing games, finding optimal routes, discovering the most precise glitches that can save from minutes to just a few frames, which if you don't know is basically risking your entire run just for a few milliseconds of time save. I've come to love speedruns, watching them at least. Something about them is really cool to me, and I think the community is really cool. It's all cool. I've been lurking and watching various speedrunners for a decent amount of time, and I decided that I wanted to do a speedrun. Now, I don't really have the time to set aside hundreds of hours to hone my skill on whatever game I want, so I decided I had to do a blind speedrun where I just play it for the first time and try my best. I spent a few days racking my brain on what game I'd like to run. I like Pokemon. Maybe I could run a Pokemon game, but that's a lot of researching and memorizing and luck. I could try a Mario game. It's a popular category, but I don't know if it's for me. Then it hit me. The perfect game. Of course. Why hadn't I thought of it sooner? I ran to speedrun.com to check if anyone has run it yet. No one. None. I'm gonna be the first person in the world to speedrun Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends. That I know of. Why did I choose Cooking Mama? Because, dude, Cooking Mama is awesome. If you haven't played, it's a DS game where you follow steps to make food and impress Mama. The better you do, the better score you get. Plus, I'm at an advantage when it comes to preparing food. I've seen Food Wars. I know all the techniques and secrets. If you're under 18, don't look it up. Why did I choose the second game and not the original? That's the one I bought. Duh. I used to play Cooking Mama all the time as a kid with my friend Kate. I always thought Mama's English was really funny.
Great! You gave it your best effort.
I still love it. We even had this system where if we kept failing at a recipe, we'd have to change chairs because that one had bad luck. Obviously. I don't have that luxury this time because I have to stay by the computer, so I'll have to come up with a better strategy. Also, extra movements lose time. I need to be efficient here. Anyway, I wanted to have some sort of challenge, so I decided to add some rules to my run. 1, I have to fully complete the main game mode Cook with Mama. 2, I have to receive a gold medal on every single recipe. That means I can't make a mistake. Ever. Can't burn a single onion, can't accidentally pour the rice into the sink, can't smack my hand while pounding mochi. If I do, the whole recipe has to be redone. 3, that's it. Do it fast, I guess. The first recipe is pizza, and I was off to a pretty good start. Obviously, it's a speedrun, so I didn't have time to read the little description on what to do each step, but for the most part, I was able to use my massive IQ and big, strong brain to decode the objectives in split seconds. Except in the last step where I didn't know how to work the oven and failed immediately. Again, off to a great start. After deciphering how the oven worked, I was moving on quickly. Peanut butter, poke the peanuts, done. Oops. Recover, adapt, overcome. Done. Sea bream carpaccio. Exfoliate the fish, chopping, restart. Choose smaller knife, easy peasy. Corn soup. Ew. Bald the corn, boil, strain. Oh, come on! Not all the corn came out. Alright, admittedly, I was making a lot of mistakes at the beginning. I was nervous because it was my first speedrun and I didn't know what I had to do most of the time and was generally panicking. But then I remembered that no Cooking Mama 2 speedruns exist yet, so that means I'm on world record pace, and that made me feel better. One mechanic I had to learn the hard way was, when it comes to the oven, choose the low heat. The first attempt, I decided to go with the medium heat to go a little bit faster. And look at this! Oh no! What was that? That was a speedrun in itself. Burn the apple pie as quick as possible. You know how there's separate categories in speedruns? Mario Odyssey has the one where you take Mario's shirt off as fast as possible called nipple percent. I want one for Cooking Mama 2 called burnt apple pie percent, where you just burn the apple pie as quickly as possible. Anyway, I redid the pie and was moving on. Bonk. Ill rice bowl. We're about an hour in at this point. I had my friends in a Discord call so they can help me take notes so I didn't have to rewatch all the footage again for the script, and they decided to look up how many recipes there actually were in the game. I didn't know because I wanted to go in completely blind. And you know what they discovered? There are a total of 80 recipes in this game. An hour in, I was on recipe 8. Which would be impressive in real life, but not here. So either we were gonna pull a Cooking Mama all-nighter, or I had to start picking up the pace. Sorry, Shrimp, this is gonna get violent. It wasn't perfect, and I was still making some mistakes, but I started getting into the zone. It helped that I was starting to get familiar with the mechanics and actually know what the game wanted me to do for most of the steps now. Waffles, chili dog, meatloaf, lobster. I was one-shotting all of them. I even put 2 mama flags on the lobster, which was a bit risky, but you know me, I live for the danger.
I almost forgot to put the lobster on. I almost forgot to put the lobster on.
Let me pause and tell you a story of my childhood. I already mentioned my love for Cooking Mama as a kid. Even 12 years ago, I set myself the goal of getting gold in all the recipes. But one haunting memory I have of this game was my struggle against the Mama Rice Cracker. All the steps are relatively simple, but at the end you have to stamp all 18 crackers with a Mama stamp. That's what makes the Mama Rice Cracker the Mama Rice Cracker. But as a kid, my DS was old and I dropped it a few times, which messed up the calibration on my screen in a way I couldn't fix. So that meant at the very end of the recipe, it was extremely hard for me to stamp the stamp in the exact spot that Mama wanted. I spent weeks, I'm not joking, trying to get the gold on the Mama Rice Cracker. It was the last one I needed, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I'm pretty sure I was eventually able to pass, but let's just say I didn't for the sake of drama. Either way, I was having PTSD. I was going through all the steps, washing the rice, putting the rice in the little hole, mochi pounding the rice scoop, and then it appeared. The screen that caused the most pain a video game could to a 10-year-old. I was slowly making my way down the line. Everything was going well. And then all of a sudden, on the 10th cracker, I accidentally tapped the screen when I was lining up my pen, causing me to not brand the cracker enough. I'm not one to believe in spiritualism or star signs or Destiny's Child, whatever that stuff is. But that moment in particular made me question if it was all real and my only fate is to eternally fail the last step of the Mama Rice Cracker recipe until I inevitably die an unaccomplished old man that makes ugly rice crackers. I did it right the next time, but that would have been unfortunate, right? With the Mama Rice Cracker conquered, now nothing was in my way, and I was making my way through the rest of the recipes. At the 2-hour, 37-minute mark, 27 recipes in, Ari got out of his cage and was running around the room, so I had to spend precious time getting him back under control. That was a loss of 2 minutes right there. Then I missliced the raviolis, so I'm blaming all of that misfortune on Ari. I actually struggled a lot on the ravioli recipe. The pasta is really hard to cut because you have to time the slice with the line, but since I was so focused on when to cut, a lot of the time I would deviate from the actual line to cut from and mess up. Then when I was able to get past that stage, for some reason the mic had trouble hearing me blow, so even though I was doing what I was supposed to, I'd fail anyway.
Do you hear it?
Overall, I had to redo the ravioli recipe 6 times, and I spent 11 minutes on it. Not great. Thanks, Ari. But after that, I was able to one-shot both the cake and the spring rolls. And can we talk about how the ice cream recipe literally just makes you scoop out store-bought ice cream and put sprinkles on it? That's been my favorite recipe so far. Skipping forward a bit, let's talk about the mango pudding. This was ravioli part 2. The first step I had trouble with was memorizing the order of the ingredients. It was a 6-part Simon Says memory game, and my big smooth brain can only handle one number at a time before the concept of object permanence leaves my body. I inevitably got a lucky pattern that was easy to remember, and after a few more steps, in the end I had to draw a line at a specific speed that would remove the pudding cleanly. Too slow and it wouldn't come out, too fast and it just... For the life of me, I couldn't get the pacing right 3 consecutive times in a row. And with the combined difficulty of that, along with the memorizing, I spent another 10 minutes trying to get it right and still failing. My confidence was shattered and I had to take a mental health break. I'll be back for you, mango pudding. I'll come back stronger, and I'll cook you so well I'll become the mama. I was in shambles from the pudding, but was able to move on and started getting back into a rhythm. All these foods, I was knocking them out one by one. I will note that I struggled with popcorn because I thought there was gonna be some sort of indicator or something on when to open the lid, so I just sat there until I realized I burnt it all.
Oh wait.
So I was like, oh, okay, I'll open it when I hear the popping sounds. And then I opened it with like 5 popcorns. But it's okay, I was able to figure it out. Overall, the rest of the run went on without any major problems. I was able to finish up the rest of the recipes, and at the 6-hour, 38-minute mark, I only had 2 recipes left. The bento box, and of course, the mango pudding. Time is ticking, we're in the end game now. Also, my Discord friends were ready to never talk to me again. I thought I could just get the bento box over with quickly because it's like, you just put food in box, right? Well, actually, I didn't realize I had to include food from all the categories Mama gave me or something, so I failed it like 3 times and was on the brink of insanity trying to figure out what Mama wanted from me. The food is in the box, Mama. What's what a bento box is? Food in box. What else do you need? Blood? A blood sacrifice? It didn't say anywhere in the instructions that I should have put more variety in there. Not that I was reading the instructions anyway. I still, right now, don't know what Mama wanted, but at least I finally got the gold after 4 minutes. That meant I only had 1 last recipe. 79 were completed. The mango pudding was the only thing standing between me and the first Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends world record. I clicked it nervously, but I climbed my mountain. I trained with Mama, and I've come back a new chef. Peeling, slicing, blending, I was quicker than ever. There it was. The memorizing. I was doing well until... No! I restarted. I was sweaty and shaking. My brain was shutting down. My eyes had only been seeing Cooking Mama for the past 6 hours and 45 minutes. Every breath was Cooking Mama. Every neuron in my skull was Cooking Mama. Every atom in the universe at that moment was Cooking Mama. But my next attempt, oh my god, oh Jesus, is this the one? I nervously went through the rest of the recipe until I arrived at the last step. It's been about 3 hours and 15 minutes since I practiced removing the pudding from the mold, and to be honest, I don't remember the removal strats. First one, second one.
Eating smart should taste this good. Factor takes the guesswork out of eating clean. Get chef-crafted dietitian.
First one, second one. Let's go! I got all the puddings out flawlessly. I waited until the results to confirm it. Boom! 100 points on the mango pudding. Stop the timer. I did it. At long last, all 80 recipes in Cooking Mama 2 gold. In 6 hours, 47 minutes, and 27 seconds. There might be some room for improvement there. Overall, I had a really fun time with the speedrun. It's not even close to a good run, and the time can easily be halved, but I still pride myself in knowing I was the first one to complete and document the Cooking Mama 2 all gold %. And also burnt apple pie %. If there's any speedrunners out there wanting to try and take my crown, I'll share some speed strats I thought of during the run. If you complete the steps too quickly, you get a bonus, and at the end of the recipe, if you get 5 bonuses, you receive a gift that you can't reject or skip, which loses a lot of time. You're smothering me, Mama. So if you can get no bonuses within the entire game, you'd be saving a lot of time. Another tip is, if you're gonna mess up the recipe, don't mess up the last step, because if you do, you have to wait through Mama giving you your score and clapping for you and being like, yeah, it's almost perfect. And the whole time you're like, yes, Mama, I know it's not perfect. I dropped an egg. And then she gives you like 3 presents in a row because you got too many bonuses. And you're just screeching at her to shut up the whole time. I didn't discover any glitches that would save time, unfortunately. I don't know what a Cooking Mama glitch would look like, but it doesn't sound pleasant. But it doesn't matter, because as of this moment right here, I'm the one with the Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends world record. Guess I finally did something with my life after all. Anyway, thanks for watching my first attempt at a speedrun. I think, in hindsight, I should have chosen a game that could have been done in a few less hours, because I feel like I aged 20 years after this. But you live and learn. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. You know how in my last video I said I was an obedient child who never stepped out of line or broke rules growing up? I wasn't lying, but I do have things I've secretly carried on my shoulders for a long time and still feel arguably guilty about to this day. This video isn't just for your entertainment. It's gonna serve as me clearing my conscience and finally being free from these chains of guilt. Also, don't get your hopes up. None of these stories involve murder. Sorry, I didn't kill anyone. Every once in a while growing up, my dad would let us sit in front of the television while we ate dinner. That would be a special treat for my brother and me because mom wasn't home from work yet and she wouldn't let us watch TV during the week. This is when we were really young, by the way. Don't worry. I'm allowed to eat in front of the TV at least 3 days a week now. We were eating in front of the TV one night and I wanted to have chips for dessert. Our dinner rules were always eat dinner and then get a little treat or dessert afterwards. And I wanted chips. Everyone's favorite dessert. So my dad got the bag of chips, and normally my parents poured us bowls, but there wasn't much left, so he just gave me the whole bag and said, "Don't eat them all." He got 2 cool parent points that day. It was going good so far, eating chips in front of the TV.
This is the height of luxury!
I looked down, and I ate all the chips. Dang it! What do? My dad gave me one rule. My parents are never gonna trust me ever again. They're gonna disown me. My life is over. I'm gonna be living in a box on the side of the road and I'll have to search trash cans for chips. I might as well pack my things and get a head start right now. I started to panic and my little kid brain started racing to think of some sort of way to avoid punishment. A rat! A giant rat burst through the door, slapped the bag out of my hand, ate all the chips, and escaped out the window. And also stole an extra cookie on its way out. No, they wouldn't believe that. I don't think rats eat chips. Jax finished eating early and went into the backyard to play. So what I ended up doing was going, "Jax, do you want some chips?" And I gave him the empty bag. Then I went over to my dad and said, "Dad, I have something to tell you. I'm sorry." Jax ate all the chips, and I went into my room and hid. I really don't think my brother got into any trouble because I didn't hear anything else about it, and my dad probably just threw the bag away. But since I never got caught or came clean, I've held this guilt about that whole situation ever since. There's layers to it. Not only did I lie to my dad and falsely accuse my brother, but on top of it all, I gave Jax an empty bag of chips. A perfect little regret cherry on the ice cream sundae of shame. And I really think that when my dad and brother watch this video, they'll be like, I don't remember this at all. Because I want to say it was like 13 years ago, which makes me feeling guilty even more pointless and stupid because it doesn't even matter and no one cares and I'm the only one suffering from it. This is a pretty effective way to learn a lesson. I've never finished a bag of chips since that day. One time I was at recess in 2nd grade playing by myself in the grass. You know, like a frickin' loser. This group of girls came up to me and said, "Hey, we're playing tag and chasing the boys. You should help us." And I was like, well, beats sitting here and getting eaten by ants. So I started running around and chasing the boys with the rest of the kids. It was all normal tag at first, but somehow it started escalating to extreme tag. Extreme as in people started throwing rocks. Being a self-conscious child who had no understanding of personal choices, I was like, oh, well, I guess we're doing this now. So I threw a rock and hit this kid in the back of the head, which may I add took some top-notch skill and coordination considering we were both running and he was a good distance away from me. Not to brag or anything. Ow! I'm telling. Oh, frick. I watched this kid start running off to tell a teacher, and I knew I had to think of something fast. And don't tell me I should have just stood there and faced the consequences of my actions. You know, as a kid, you wouldn't have done that. This only works if we're all honest with ourselves here. The first thing I could think of was to go hide in the bathroom, because everyone knows teachers can't burst into kids using bathroom stalls. That is definitely illegal and weird. I camped out in the girls' bathroom until I heard the recess whistle and went back to class. Obviously, the teacher was told what happened. I couldn't have run away from that, so I still got in trouble. But the guilt trip doesn't end there. The teacher told me I wasn't allowed to go to recess tomorrow, which is reasonable. I can own up to that punishment. But she also said I needed to write a letter to my parents telling them what I did. I don't know what pushed me to do this because I always did what grown-ups said, but something in my head told me, you're not writing that letter. And so I didn't. Later that day, the teacher came up to me and asked, did you write the letter? Yes. Please don't ask to see it. Please don't ask to see it. Good. And so my parents never found out. Until right now. In this video. Please don't ground me, Mom and Dad. I don't know the statute of limitations on throwing rocks at little boys, but it's been 8 years. I think I'm safe. I'm not really guilty about this next story, but it's resonated within me for a very long time, so I'm gonna add it to this video. One late night, I was on the couch playing my Game Boy, and it was very much past my bedtime. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I was probably pushing it with wanting to stay up a bit longer, and my mom was in my room telling me I needed to go to bed. It got to the point where she pulled the, "I'm gonna count to 3, and you better have the living room cleaned up and be in bed, or else." Everyone knows counting to 3 means serious business, so I sprung up and immediately started getting my crap together. The thing was, the ottoman was pushed out, and normally it's supposed to be against the couch, so I had to push it back. But being a scrawny 5-year-old the size of a poodle meant it was probably equivalent to trying to push a semi-truck. I kept pushing and pushing with all my strength as I heard my mom in the background going, 1, 2... Eventually, I just crumbled to the ground in defeat and started crying, and my mom found me on the floor curled up next to the ottoman. I felt guilty I couldn't move the ottoman. But hey, you don't need to feel bad for me. Look at me now. Yeah, it's pretty inspiring. Parents. I, like many people, have parents. And even better, I think they're pretty good ones. My mom and dad have always wanted the best for me and my brother and didn't let us do stupid stuff like lean back too far in our chairs at the dinner table. So good job on not letting us be stupid, guys. Thumbs up, gold star. Well, I did lean back too far that one time, but I'll give you a pass on that one. And I learned my lesson. Everyone has some sort of guardian figure in their life, and I'm always going to be grateful I was able to grow up in a loving family with good parents. There's been ups and downs, arguments, disagreements, but when it all comes down to it, they're just looking out for me. Jaden, tie your shoes before riding your bike. What do you know?
Happy kids are successful kids. When you choose a tuition-free K
You know. I'm actually at a big step in my life right now because I'm moving out of their house. I'll finally be out of the nest, making my own choices, a free bird. If I want to have oatmeal for dinner, my family's not going to be there to walk in and look at me weird. I don't care about your oatmeal as a breakfast food. I like it and will eat it when I desire. Just watch me. Moving out has made me think a lot about my life growing up and everything my parents have done for me to be able to get to this point. And even though I can totally make a heartfelt video about all the sacrifices they've made and nights they've spent caring for me, I'm gonna talk about funny, stupid stuff because that makes a better YouTube video. I'm on my own now, I got bills to pay. When I was little, I wasn't a picky eater. I'm pretty sure I ate most anything on my plate. Some kids are all, "No, I do not like the taste of this mush and will not consume it no matter what you tell me. I will sit here with a pouty lip and arms crossed for all eternity in this high chair, and when I die of starvation, it will be your fault." Hun, just eat the friggin' carrots. Even though I wasn't a picky eater, my parents would always make up games to try and get me to eat stuff I still didn't like. One night we were all at the dinner table and my mom had the brilliant parent idea of saying, "Hey, how about we have a contest of who can eat the most green beans the quickest?" Harmless, right? She was just thinking it would be an easy and sneaky way for us to get in more vegetables. But she underestimated my power. You dare challenge me? Not only will I win, but I will eat the most green beans you've ever seen anyone eat in their entire life. I ate so many green beans in such a short amount of time that night. I won, obviously, because everyone else was a scrub. But after dinner, I got really sick and my mom's plan kind of backfired. But I still won, so. Besides the infamous green bean eating contest, which we never did again, my mom always had a who can make the loudest carrot crunch competition. I don't need to explain the rules, it's right in the name. My brother and I would go crazy over that contest. We didn't even think about how we were eating carrots. We just wanted to defeat everyone else. It wasn't until recently I was thinking about it and went, wait, did you make that contest just so we'd eat more carrots? Yeah. Betrayal. Even my mom's sister was tricky with my cousins and getting them to eat their vegetables. My mom told me stories about how when my cousin was just barely learning numbers and counting, they'd be eating dinner and she'd say to my aunt, "Mommy, I don't want any more carrots. How about you just eat 3 more? How about 5? Well, okay, fine. Parents have become the masters of getting kids to eat vegetables, which is good. I applaud them for it. Nutrition is important, kids. Like, how many times has your mom just randomly baked you brownies as a kid? And how many times did you think about if there was broccoli in it? Ha! Gotcha, kiddo. You're getting so much vitamin C and K right now, you don't even know. If you didn't know about that, there's a way you can hide broccoli in brownies as an easy way to get kids to consume more nutrients without them fighting you because they only want to live off sugar. Brownies are good at hiding a lot of stuff, actually. Have you ever heard of black bean brownies? There's ways you can add black beans to brownies and no one will even know. Here's one. Go and try it. If you want. It's a good way to add protein to your diet because everyone's so obsessed with protein, and for some reason society thinks it's the only macronutrient we ever need, and carbs are the devil and will destroy your life and kill everyone you love, and that's a tangent for another video. So yeah, to people who didn't know, you can hide broccoli in brownies, black beans, some people try other herbs. Let's move on. I'm gonna tell this story because it's kind of stupid and doesn't matter, but I'm still a bit salty about this, so you'll probably get a kick out of it. Every kid has their thing growing up. Some liked dolls, some liked cars, some liked pushing other kids off the swings. I was all about stuffed animals. They were my jam. Still kinda are. Anyway, one day I said, hey, I like stuffed animals, and I like Pokemon. Mom, Blaziken plush! Oh my frig! Don't say frig. My mind was blown. Two of my favorite things combined together. Blaziken was, and is, my favorite Pokemon, so I was desperate to have this Blaziken Pokédoll. I was willing to wash the dishes, clean the house, make a deal with the Underlord, sell lemonade, and since my mom's such a pushover, and since my mom's so nice, she let me and my brother pick out a Pokédoll we each liked. I, of course, picked out the Blaziken, and my brother got the Totodile one. And can we just stop and appreciate this Totodile, by the way? Let's continue. So my mom ordered the plushes, they were like 20 bucks or something, and we were pretty happy campers when they arrived. I loved that Blaziken doll for a really long time, but of course, as with most children and their toys, I started playing with it less after a while. I still liked it, but I gradually stopped bringing it everywhere and eventually just kept it in my closet. Maybe like a couple years ago, the memory of it just popped into my head and I wanted to look at it again. Yeah, I remember all the fun times I had with that doll. I'd take it everywhere I went, I'd fall asleep with it. Where'd it go? I don't remember where it would be. Mom, do you know where my old Blaziken Pokédoll went? I can't find it. I got rid of it. You what? Sometime when my mom was going through all her stuff, she decided to get rid of my Blaziken Pokédoll without asking me. I was crushed. Well, that is a bit extreme. I went from having a normal day to having a bit of a less good day. But then I thought, wait, I'm an adult. I can just find another one and buy it myself. I don't need my mom's permission anymore. So I looked on Google to try and find a new Blaziken Pokédoll, and apparently, now they're ultra rare collector's items that aren't even being sold anymore and freaking worth a crap ton of money. Now I'm having even less of a good day. Yeah, apparently these things are worth like more than $100 now, and everyone's desperate to have one, and we bought it when it was like $20. Mom, do you realize what you've done? So it's become my goal. Someday I will have another Blaziken Pokédoll. One, because I really like it. And two, I'm not a collector of anything, but now this might seem a bit evil to people in the rare collectors community. I want to have as many rare Pokédolls as I can find, just because I'm not a collector. I want to have all these Pokédolls that are super rare, and then a collector is like, holy crap, you have this set of Hoenn Starter Evolution Pokédolls? Can I have them? And I can be like, no. Ah, do you realize how rare these are? Collectors like me would pay anything to have them. I know, and that's why I want it. I'm on a journey to get as many rare Pokédolls as I can now. I think my target is Blaziken, Swampert, and Sceptile because it's the trio and they're my absolute favorite, and they're stupid rare. It's an evil plan, I know, but I think it's funny.
I'm sort of stealing this idea from Jaden Animations. Wait, no, that's not right. I'm not stealing it.
Discover a journey where no two moments are like the next.
Not stealing it.
I'm plagiarizing it.
Two can play at that game, James. Things I do that adults probably don't do. Plagiarized Jaden edition.
Also, by the way, I'm very proud of you, James. Congrats on trending.
Again, I mean, if I were to choose one of your videos to end up being on the top of the YouTube trending list, I'd probably want to choose the one where you tell people to watch my videos at the very start anyway. Now go watch James's videos. I think I'm supposed to fall in the category of adult now, and apparently, according to Psychology Today, some of the requirements to being an adult are, don't be a jerk. Okay, check. I think I have that one down. If there's a situation where I can either be a jerk or not be a jerk, I'll probably choose not being a jerk. That one's not too hard. Check your ego. Check, it wasn't high to begin with. Call people back. People don't call me. So I think check. As much as I might have some of the traits to be an adult in society's eyes, there's still a lot of things I do that adults probably don't do. So I'm gonna steal James's idea and talk about him. James just told me he kinda hates that video because it's old. So go and watch it and tell him, yeah, it's pretty old. I do this weird thing I like to call the perfect bite, trademarked. Basically, when I'm eating, I can't just be a normal person. That's the gist of it. What I do is, after I sit down with a meal, I'll analyze it before I actually start eating. I'll look for a potato chip that's the best size, a vegetable that has the right amount of seasoning, an area on a sandwich where the ingredients are at perfect ratio with each other. I'll find where the best bite would be, and not eat it. I'll start eating where the second best bite is. Second best, wouldn't you? No, I already know what you're gonna say. When eating perfect bite, TM style, you can't start off eating the most absolute perfect bite. That's how you ruin everything. You don't want to ruin everything. You start with the second best and work your way around the best so you can finish the meal with the perfect bite. Boom, it all comes full circle. Start off with the almost best bite, end it on the perfect one. A good summary of the entire meal. I don't want to end on an unsatisfying bite. That would just make me disappointed and sad. I don't know of anyone else who does this. I don't even know how I started doing it, to be honest. I've always eaten food this way and been a freak. I'll end up having a plate with little individual bites of burrito, stray pieces of fruit, a single french fry. And when eating with other people, it looks really weird because there's just tiny sporadic bites organized on my plate. Sometimes they ask about it and I have to go through the whole process of how to eat perfect bite TM style with them and explain all the rules and yada yada yada, the whole story. And they judge me. But you know what? Don't knock it till you try it, okay? The perfect bite TM is a powerfully underrated technique. You don't even know. I wonder if I can copyright it too. Since I'm on my own, I have the freedom to decorate my living space with pretty much whatever I want. I like interior decorating. It's fun to decide what can go where and choosing color schemes and all that house stuff. But even though I enjoy good decor, I also don't take it very seriously. I buy things that are goofy and kinda stupid because when I walk into the room and see them, they make me laugh because of how ridiculous they are. I got a gift card for a home supply store I'd never been to before, and after a while of not using it, I decided, it's probably about time I use this. I walked into the place with $25 and no expectations and came out with two things. A kitchen ornament with nothing but a funny looking rooster on it and in bold letters the word eat. I don't know why I liked it so much, maybe just the fact that it says eat with a possibly aggravated rooster on it. I don't know what that expression is, I'm just making an educated guess. It's pretty absurd. And I like it. Putting it in the kitchen makes it seem like it's a rule. And I mean, you gotta obey the rooster here. When you're in the kitchen, you should probably eat. If kitchens were to have one rule, that'd probably be it. And the second thing I bought was a big case of plastic mini dinosaurs. I saw them and was like, yep, these belong in my house. Here's pictures of them. One time, my friend came over, walked into my office, and went, "What's this? A dinosaur?" And then he smacked the mini dinosaur off the desk and slammed down a bigger one he bought in place of it. That was a fun time. I also bought this stuffed toucan, and he makes me very happy. I was in Target looking for a lamp and saw him down the aisle, and I physically stopped. My instinctual reaction was just, oh my god, I didn't realize how much I needed this toucan right now. Get in my life. So whenever I walk into my room and see him, I get happy. I don't think adults are supposed to buy plastic dinosaurs, slightly aggravated roosters, or dopey looking toucans as interior decorations, though. I start getting really stressed and anxious when a conversation with someone ends and no one has anything else to say, because there's a possibility where there'll be a few seconds of silence and staring at each other like, so the conversation has ended. Yep, we're done here. Until someone eventually goes, well, I'll see you later then. I hate that. I hate that so much. I don't care that hate's a strong word. I have a strong hate for it. I think it's just one of the worst ways to end an interaction with someone. You could have had the most transcendent conversation in the history of ever. Hey, I'm so glad we found a solution to world hunger and discovered the chemical formula for the cure to cancer. But if it ends with that 3 seconds of awkward staring, it's ruined everything. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Worked pretty hard on it. In attempt to avoid that situation, my solution is to try and catch the conversation's end at the perfect time so it's a flawless conclusion with no bumbling around. Like, if it was a human conversation simulator game, I'd totally get an A++ super with stars and hearts, and the person's little avatar would go, that's what I would do if I was normal. But since I'm exceedingly bad at anything related to social competence, what typically happens is I start leaving in the middle of them still talking. I mean, I don't mean to do it. I realize the conversation is ending, and I try to over-prepare by beginning to step away so they can finish their statement and it's an easy transition to the conclusion. But I'm really bad at gauging when the right time to start retracting from the conversation is, and I misjudge how much left they have to say. So it ends up going something like, it was the biggest, fattest squirrel I've ever seen. It was crazy. That's insane. Well, and then my little sister came into the room and saw it and started freaking out, and she... yeah, she thought it was a mutated monster squirrel, and, yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I wish I could have seen it. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, so I'll talk to you later. Yeah, okay, bye. Why does it seem like someone's either really good or really bad at social interaction? It's either, oh my god, this is me, / relatable, / I don't know. Or it's simple, just don't be stupid. I'm excited to be at the adult stage in life where all of a sudden socializing is easy. When does that part happen when becoming an adult? Whenever that wants to happen, that'd be great. In the meantime, I'll just have to endure not knowing how to end conversations. One time I was trying to end a phone call with someone and I didn't know how to bring up, hey, I have to go now, because they kept talking, and I ended up being on the phone with them for an entire extra hour. That was not fun. Hello everybody, friends. Hello friends. I've got a special surprise for you all today. It's James. It's James.
Hey, how's it going? Heyo.
Most of you should know him from The Odd Ones Out.
Yee.
And if you don't, you better get on that because he's like the funniest channel.
Thanks.
It's a fact. We became friends a little while ago, and I thought it was about time to have you on the video.
Thank you.
So coincidentally, we both live in the oven that is Arizona, and we wanted to share our thoughts and opinions on it. Like, don't get us wrong, we love it here.
Well, I mean, love is a pretty strong word.
We don't completely despise Arizona. But there's just some things about it that are just like, eh. So we're gonna talk about them, and yeah.
There's no trees here.
1, the heat. You talked about it a lot in your own Arizona video, James.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone hasn't seen it, I suggest you watch that because it is a pretty A1 video.
Thanks.
But don't do it yet, because you still gotta watch this video.
Yeah, don't watch that video.
Yet. It gets absolutely scalding here. What, the record last summer was like 120 Fahrenheit, something like that?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was unbearable.
Like, shoot, Arizona, slow your roll with the heat. We're not eggs trying to be boiled over here. And some people do that. They try to fry eggs with just the sun. You can look it up. It's a thing.
Ah, it's disgusting. You didn't put any salt on it. The heat is so bad, especially in the summer. If you wanted to do anything outside, then you had a 50% chance of having a heat stroke. It's just a risk you had to take.
Also, cars become literal toasters. You open the door and you're hit with just a massive wave of just Satan. And you'd sit down with like as little skin touching the seat as possible, and you kind of just have to wait and sit there, wait for the heat to die down just enough to be able to do anything. The seatbelt's too hot, the dash is too hot, the steering wheel's like, holy Jesus.
You think we're exaggerating, but no. If your car was parked in direct sunlight, you have to wait for it to cool down because you have to touch the steering wheel to drive. And you don't want to be driving like you're playing hot potato with the wheel,
I think someone needs to invent like a little compartment for holding oven mitts or something in the car, because that's really the only way you can actually drive without burning your hands off.
If someone actually does that, then we should get 50% of the profit because we came up with that idea. And then when you're all done and you get out of the car and you hear your sweaty back being pulled apart from the leather seats like a sticky note.
It's gross.
2. Cactuses.
Cacti.
Not a lot of places have cacti. Only Arizona, Texas, Nevada, and New Mexico have natural growing cacti. And a tiny bit of Mexico. So some people who visit are like, ooh, look, cacti, cool. Sure, they're cool to look at, but I don't get why they're so excited about cacti. They're freaking everywhere.
Yeah, living with them is the worst. When I was growing up, I lived in a cul-de-sac neighborhood where the road looped around a little desert patch. Well, when I was learning to ride a bike, I was pedaling down the road towards the neighborhood, and I didn't turn with the road because I didn't know how. So I rode straight into the desert center and ran into a little cactus patch. I don't remember much about it because I was little, but it was pretty scarring.
Literally. Also, there's a type of cactus called jumping cactus because they jump out and attack you for no reason. Guess who? Cacti are jerks.
3. The wildlife. Everyone always talks about the scary scorpions and snakes here, and yeah, they're pretty sucky to have to deal with.
Yeah, one time this big scorpion.
But no one ever talks about the friggin' javelinas. If you don't know what javelinas are, they're wild hogs. And they're scary as freak. They're mean, and they'll run after you, and they travel in packs, and they're smelly.
I've never had to deal with those before.
Well, let me tell you. The only way you can get them to not attack you is to feed them bananas. But then they start coming back because they want more bananas, and you're stuck in this loop forever feeding them all your bananas out of fear.
They're like ducks, but worse.
If ducks were big, ugly, hairy monsters who wanted to eat your bananas.
Me and my siblings used to capture lizards for fun, and we would just hold them, but sometimes we would accidentally pull their tails off. Did you know that lizards' tails still move even after you pull them? I knew that. Also, at night, the cicadas would be really loud and annoying.
4. There's nothing to do here.
That's why me and Jaden are artists. You get to stay inside and do fun stuff, while not having to worry about dying of heat stroke.
Arizona's kinda really boring. There's not much to do here in terms of entertainment. Sure, there's like zoos and aquariums and like mini golf.
And friends, if you have those.
The other main option is dirty water parks. I've never been a fan of water parks. They gross me out. Everyone shares the tubes and the slides and the water with a very minimal amount of clothing on. Like, who knows what's in that water? Especially the wave pools. It's like a public bath. I've seen people take hot dogs into them too. It's like dirty public hot dog bath. Oh, I guess the one I like here is Sunsplash.
Same. Wait, did we go to the same water park?
The same Sunsplash?
I mean, it could be a possibility. Did you go on the green one where the floor would...
Like, the floor would drop? Oh my god.
OMG.
So yeah, that's the video. I need water, but my thing's all the way in the corner of the closet.
You can get up and get it. ASMR. Hey, we should make an ASMR video. Stop.
The beloved.
Water. Shrek.
So yeah, that's the video. James and I found out we probably went to the same dirty water park when we were young and never knew it. And everything's come full circle.
Yeah, the food was pretty expensive.
Hope you guys enjoyed us complaining about where we live. If you want to hear some more of the pros
and more cons
of Arizona, like fruit, old people, and
haboobs,
go watch James's video, and of course, if you somehow didn't know him or his channel, you gotta check that out too. So thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you for the watching.
The watching. Thank you for
Thanks for the watching. Bye.
Bye.
I used to be someone who could get around, but I've been really struggling the past few years. Without.
Bye.
Bye.
Ah, Animal Crossing. The game that's keeping most of the population sane while 2020 burns outside our windows. Like many fans of the franchise, I have a very special place in my heart for Animal Crossing. See? I put it right there. Growing up, I loved video games, but I didn't have very many friends. Sad. And within those few friends, most of them weren't super into video games. Sad. So I grew up playing games either alone or with my brother. sad. What I'm getting at is I'm not used to being able to connect with people over video games, let alone get to experience them with my friends together. But the one game that my few friends did play was Animal Crossing Wild World on the DS. I remember playing Animal Crossing for hours, days, sometimes mostly weeks in a row during summer vacation with my best friend Kate. It was always the highlight of our summer, and depending on your point of view, that may or may not be depressing. My family also used to have a tradition to visit the rest of my family in Canada every July, so my brother and I would continue to play Animal Crossing with our cousins. Nothing could stop us. Not even the great borders of the United States of America. We had this game we made up where we all meet up at one person's town, dig a bunch of holes in the shape of a maze, and then one of us would chase the others around with a bunny hood, gas mask, and axe, like some sort of morbid tag. We called it the bunny game, which looking back was a bit misleading in the innocence of the actual premise. When Animal Crossing New Leaf was released, Kate and I got our hands on it the day of our high school sophomore prom, and we very much wanted to ditch it entirely just for the game. It's not like we had dates or anything, but we ended up going anyway, and it was lame. All in all, I love Animal Crossing. I get that it's not a game for everyone because of its slow pace and open-ended nature, but it was one of the few games I got to experience with friends on a really deep level and collected a bunch of fun memories with. Now we have New Horizons, the game that parted the clouds and descended upon us when the world needed it most. I like the game a lot. I've got my gripes, which I'll get to at some point, but while playing the game, I started thinking about the original, Animal Crossing for the GameCube. I had a GameCube growing up, but my mom didn't buy Animal Crossing for us, so that meant I had no idea it existed. That's just how the world worked for me back as a kid. If my mom didn't buy it for me, then it didn't exist. So now, as an adult, I've started to make the connection that not only do I have my own money to buy my own video games, but I can do whatever I want. Mostly. And using that newfound power, I've decided to go back to the basics and experience firsthand the beginning of one of my favorite game franchises. What's changed? What secrets have been hiding from me? Well, I guess we're about to find out together. The classic train scene. Rover walks over and asks if he can sit with me, promising not to fall asleep and drool on my shirt, to which I reply, "No way!" Wow, it's nice to know there's still plenty of rude people in the world. And he sits there anyway. So you go through the typical beginning of an Animal Crossing game. Who are you? I'm Jaden. Where are you going? Mustard. What's your credit card number and mother's maiden name? September 27th. My friend has a house for you because you're stupid. Okay, you arrive in town, meet Tom Nook, and he offers to let you check out the vacant houses he's got. Let's see. We've got medieval torture dungeon, haunted backyard garden shed, Chinese sweatshop locker room, and 15th century empty pool. Yeah, I'll take a locker room, please. After settling on a place, Tom Nook asks for the payment of 19,800 bells, to which I realize I have nothing, so I'm like, no. And he's like, you better freaking give me the money. So I'm like, here. To which he realizes I barely have even 0.05% of what he wants from me, and he straight up laughs in my face. You only have 1,000 bells? You're joking with me, right? Why, you're so short, I can't help but laugh. So he puts me to work at his shop to earn the rest of the money. You get various tasks to complete for Nook, be it planting nice flowers around his shop to make it look nice. I planted them around my house. Meeting the other villagers, making deliveries. Bro, when I delivered this Sue chick her, signed copy of the Notebook on Blu-ray or whatever junk she ordered, she completely just destroyed me out of nowhere. Boy, that's mine. Why do you have it, Jaden? Are you working for Tom Nook or something? Oh, you are? How amusing. You mean to tell me you didn't have enough money to buy a house when you moved? Well, how silly. Were you the mental run to the litter or what? Oh, I'm just having a little fun with you. I suppose everyone has to take a bold step once in their lives. So, you must not have any money to buy furniture. Don't be ashamed. Here, take this blue wardrobe. You simply must take it. I bet you go home to a sad little empty house every day, don't you? It may not be much, but beggars can't be choosers. And that's when I realized how absolutely brutal this game had the capability of being. I heard that it could be sassy at some points, but I was straight up murdered by this gothic drag queen pig just for being a delivery boy. You can't say that to the, Amazon Prime delivery guys. What the heck? That's how you get your stuff smashed. So you know what I did? I sent the biggest guy in town, Rocco, a letter and used my smooth talking skills to try and send him a signal and take care of her. And just in case that didn't work out, I made a community bulletin board post to warn the others. After you finish being a corporate wage slave, the game finally becomes the Animal Crossing experience I'm used to. Catching bugs, finding fossils, waiting an entire week for Tom Nook to finally sell a stupid fishing rod. I'll admit, coming from New Horizons, the original Animal Crossing doesn't have much to offer. Maybe it held up better in the past, or I was able to have more fun with it because I was younger and easier to be entertained, but I found myself strapped on things to do. Sure, I could fish for 2 hours straight to make money, but I could also just play another game. Why I think New Horizons is the best game in the series so far, big asterisk on the so far, is that it saw where players were taking the franchise and ran with it far beyond what we could have hoped for. Oh, people really enjoy being able to customize their house and are using the little pattern spaces to make cool paths for their town? Well, then let's give them a bigger town, and more pattern spaces, and hundreds of new and modernized furniture items, and let them put them outside wherever and however they want, and let's let them shape the earth and sea. I've put hundreds of hours into New Horizons already, and I'm not nearly done with the game. My island still looks like crap. I played the original Animal Crossing for a week or two, and could only put at max an hour into it per day, because I ran out of things I wanted to do. Oh, so New Horizons is the most superior game in every possible way, right? Ha ha ha, no. While New Horizons has much more for you to do, the thing I think the original Animal Crossing got right that the new one doesn't is the villagers. Since I would get bored of continuously failing at fishing in the GameCube version,
I can barely plan my day, let alone meal prep. Factor is the only reason I'm not living off of pickles and vibes.
I found myself talking to the villagers much more often, and that's where I had the most enjoyment. The conversations with the villagers in the GameCube version have so much flavor. Sure, Sue called me a mental runt of the litter just a minute ago, but that brought out something in me that New Horizons hasn't been able to do within 300 hours of me playing. Talking to the villagers in the GameCube version made me remember why I liked the game so much as a kid. They say and do interesting things. I don't know if it's just me, but New Horizons has some of the blandest text I've seen in Animal Crossing yet. It feels like what they say is limited to like 5 things, and I honestly don't enjoy talking to them and haven't built a single connection to any of them on my island. I don't care who moves in, just so long as they're really super hot. I'm talking hunkalicious. Feels like it's been raining all the time lately. I hate getting wet. Jaden, you feel the same, right? No, actually, I don't really mind. Oh, really? Well, why don't you just stay in the rain then, since you love it so much? And I hope you catch a cold! I don't know what it is about me, but I seem to be just as popular with boys and girls. It's madness. Meanwhile, in New Horizons... Hi, Jaden. Sometimes I like to sit. No, I don't want any! I'm telling you for the last time, you foul creature! Go away, hippie! Oh, wait, it's just you. I thought it was another one of those weirdos handing out tissues. Hi, Jaden. I've been having a good day. All right, see you later. Shrivel up and blow away, shrimp! At one point, I walked up to Sue and she just started screaming. I'm begging you, would someone please change that hideous town tune? Jaden, I highly doubt you have a talented bone in your body, but you do seem to be able to run fast. So be a dear and go change that horrible music, would you? So of course, I changed the town tune. Anything for Sue her wish is my command. I'll say normally I'm not a big town tune changer in the games, but this one made me laugh. Is that better, Sue? You like that? I wasn't expecting to have an arch nemesis in Animal Crossing again, because it hasn't happened to me since Wild World, but Sue really just came into my life and slapped me around, begging me to hate her. Say, didn't you owe Tom Nook a fairly large sum of money? I was just wondering, did you ever manage to pay him back? Well, what's it to ya? Whoa, you seem a little touchy, Jaden. I guess you're still just a burden to society. But that's what Nintendo got wrong in the new games. I want drama. I want enemies. and bloodshed. The animals in New Horizons feel like just objects for me to judge on appearances and get items from. All in all, I very much like Animal Crossing. I know New Horizons isn't for everyone and is far from perfect, but I'm a big fan of the type of game it is, and the cons don't outweigh the pros for me. Do I wish the villagers had a shred of life to them? Yes. Do I hate the new music they wrote for it and desperately want to have the old music back? Yes, but I can put my Godzilla statues together like they're on a date. Is the old Animal Crossing lacking in objectives and even slower than I could have imagined? Yes, but at least I get verbally abused by my neighbors and can hit Sue-E with my net. My first memory as a child is being strapped down with belts to a chair while a dentist rips out all my teeth as I scream bloody murder against my will. That's not true. But ever since I was little, I've had a really intense fear of the dentist. I'm not sure why. I mean, yeah, going to the dentist is a bit freaky, but even as an adult, I understand the fact that I'm not in any danger, and the dentist is just trying to pick out bits of plaque I've built up over the past 6 months. If anything, I should be scared of how much they charge. Even though I know this, my body still shakes uncontrollably when they do anything more than floss my teeth, which is still kind of scary because they're always so aggressive about it. Every memory I have of going to the dentist while I was a kid is filled with me just bawling my eyes out during the entire process, and then getting a little toy from their toy machine because I was, quote, so good. I mean, you're not fooling anyone. Even I knew that was just a load of bull. No, I still want it. When I was in 6th grade, my parents decided to finally slap some braces on my mouth. My teeth were pretty straight, but I had an overbite, so I just looked like a nice horse. My mom made an appointment with the orthodontist to talk about the process, and while there, he told me I've still got 5 baby teeth, and I'll need to pull them out before I get braces for common sense purposes. So they sent me out, and I basically had a month to pull out all 5 teeth before they were gonna have to rip them out for me, which I did not like the idea of. The imagery of them sticking a needle in my mouth fueled both my motivation and intense, overwhelming fear, and I wiggled those 5 baby boys every single day since that meeting. A few of them weren't even wiggling yet, so it was gonna be a race against the clock. Does anyone want to get into a fight? By the end of the month, I managed to pull out 3 teeth on my own, a PB. But it wasn't enough, which meant my mom was gonna have to schedule that dreaded nightmare appointment where they were gonna shove needles down my throat. I was in the living room and could hear her make the call, which made my stomach sink, and I felt petrified that doomsday was going to be my reality in a few days. I could hear them preparing all 100 needles and barbed wire over the phone. That little reality check was enough to fear charge me into new power levels, because maybe an hour or 2 after she confirmed the appointment with the orthodontist, I'd ripped out the last 2 of my teeth. The conversation where my mom had to cancel the extraction appointment 2 hours after she booked it was the biggest feeling of relief I've ever had. She also ended up paying me $75 because she said I just saved her like $500 for yanking the teeth out myself and not having to pay the dentist to do it. Wow. The tooth fairy been scamming me for years. What a happy ending to the story. Jaden went on to never have anything scary done to her teeth. She continued to live a happy life, only needing to go to the dentist for cleanings and no freaky mouth procedures for the rest of her days. She got her horse teeth fixed, and the rest is history.
K-12 makes going back to school easy. We deliver an education that takes your child beyond the classroom. With interactive curriculum, innovative technology, and personalized learning tailored to your child's needs. Forget the stress of shopping. We send you everything you need to start the school year off right.
The rest is history. So last year in June, I had to get my wisdom teeth taken out. My wisdom teeth had been growing in and shoving their aggressiveness into the sweet harmony of my existing teeth for a few years. My mom intended to get them removed when I turned 18, but I think she forgot, and I thought I could get away with it, but they were starting to get really painful and annoying. One was coming in sideways, which made my gums get in the way while I ate, which made me only chew food on the left side of my mouth for like a whole year. I'd had enough and figured I just needed to get it over with and have them ripped out. I scheduled an appointment to get them removed on June 11th and braced for impact the rest of the week. Before the extraction, they wanted to have a meeting with me to discuss the process of what they're doing and how they're doing it. They put on one of those 90s informational videos and everything seemed fine until we got to the part where it was talking about sedation. In the video, they said that some sort of gas is used to induce conscious sedation, the kind that makes you really loopy and not remember anything. But then the nurse piped in and said, "We don't do that here," and let the video continue. So what? I'm just gonna be fully conscious while you needle and drill and probe my mouth? Answer the question! After the video, I said, so is there a way I can be at least semi-unconscious for this? The nurse prescribed me medication called Valium that'll help calm me down, which was relieving to hear. All I wanted was to not be conscious. I picked it up and the day came. I'm excited to not be conscious. My roommate and I got into the car to take me to the appointment, and that's when it really sunk in. This medication isn't doing anything for me, and I am extremely conscious. Do you have any chloroform? Apparently, Valium's supposed to relax you enough so that you're awake, but don't really care what's happening. But by the time the dentist was calling me back to the chair, my nerves were still going haywire. Proof of consciousness. I desperately asked the dentist if I could take another one because one pill wasn't doing enough for me, but she said I'll be fine. Okay. They leaned me back in the chair, put that mouth opener thing in my mouth, put sunglasses on me so I don't hurt my sensitive little eyes, and put the first needle into my mouth. And that's when I couldn't hold it anymore. Fear was overwhelming me the entire day, but that was the moment it really got me. Tears burst down my face and I was trying desperately not to make that annoying noise when you're trying not to cry too hard, but you need to breathe, but you breathe too much. I kept apologizing because I knew physically I was fine. There wasn't any pain I couldn't tolerate. They hadn't really done anything yet and I was being irrational. But just the idea that I was awake and present was so intense and I couldn't handle it. I didn't do that, but I wanted to. I was able to compose myself after a few minutes and they kept going, but the sounds of them sawing my tooth in half and yanking it out of my gums, and God knows what else, probably just playing tic-tac-toe with needles in there for the heck of it, was horrifying. I'm not scared of much and I'm relatively reasonable for the most part, so it was really surprising and eye-opening to feel genuine, uncontrollable fear. Like, my head told me things were okay, but my body was freaking out. And then my head was like, dude, chill. And then my body was like... All in all, everything went well and I was able to go home after they finished up a few hours later. Since I wasn't drugged up and just super numb, I didn't have much recovery to deal with other than swelling, and I kind of just chilled for the rest of the day watching YouTube videos. The dentist even told me I can eat normal food and wasn't restricted to just soup as long as I was careful. I ordered a smoothie bowl to my house, and when I opened the door to take it from the guy, I didn't realize until afterwards I had blood dripping out of my mouth, so luckily he didn't call the police. I was trying with 100% focus to not bite my tongue because I couldn't feel it at all in my mouth and was at high risk for just biting a chunk of it off without knowing. The smoothie bowl had sliced strawberries on top, and you don't realize how much sliced strawberries resemble the texture and sound of biting into a tongue until you don't know where your tongue is in your mouth and also can't feel anything. And sound of biting into a tongue until you don't know where your tongue is in your mouth and also can't feel anything. Was that my tongue? If I had to get my wisdom teeth out again, I highly doubt I'd be this freaked out about it. The hardest part was just not knowing what was going to happen and not being able to brace for it. But afterwards it was like, that wasn't too bad. But also thank the holy merciful gods that I don't need to do that again.
Well, would you look at that? The first video I'm posting in 2017. In a year, we can look back at this video and say, We had no idea what we had coming. So another year has passed, which means we're all 1 year older, which means we're growing as people, which this is a stretch. I didn't have a transition. As a youngster, I was prone to believing people pretty much unconditionally, as with most children. I just had too much trust for my own good. Like, oh, why would anyone have any reason to lie to me? The world is full of nothing but nice people and purity. Of course, I've grown out of that mentality and am a lot more cautious. But for a while, people could just tell me things and I just believed them. I got thinking about all the ridiculous things people put in my head that I stored as facts, and I decided to make a list of the craziest ones. And also, just letting you know, I was like younger than 7 in all of these stories. Don't worry, I didn't just find out these things aren't true like a couple months ago or anything. When I was in 1st grade, for some reason my mom told me aluminum foil is poison and if I ever bit it, I'd die. A bit strange, but I think I know the idea behind it. Apparently, biting foil can induce a galvanic shock. Basically, if the foil comes in contact with braces, metal fillings, something like that, the metals will react with each other and create a little electric shock. But all I knew as a kid was teeth, contact with aluminum foil, death. And I was petrified. I didn't even have braces or anything metal in my mouth at the time, so nothing would have even happened if I tried it. I also remember going to school the next day and telling my friend, "Did you know that if you bite aluminum foil, you'll die?" And she goes, "I think I've bit foil before." And I was like, how are you not dead? Grasshoppers spit acid in your shoes. This one probably needs explaining too. I was at recess with some friends and we were running around in the grass without our shoes on. When we went back to put them on, there was a little grasshopper sitting at the bottom of my right shoe. "Guys, look, a cute little grasshopper is wearing my shoe." And one of my friends goes, "Oh my god, grasshoppers spit acid! Get it out!" And then we all start panicking at the fact there was a death grasshopper in my shoe. I looked up why she could have thought that, and it actually is a fact that grasshoppers can spit a brown liquid to protect themselves from predators. It's called tobacco juice, and even though it's slightly acidic, the worst it really can do is stain your clothes. It's pretty much harmless. But oh, dude, no. I had the image in my head of some Breaking Bad hydrofluoric acid dissolve through everything it touches kind of meme. Also, just saying, I didn't mean the drug acid, even though that could be equally terrifying. Speaking of staining clothes, I was at lunch one day with the rest of my class, and one boy took out a bag of pomegranate seeds his mom packed for him in his lunch. A lot of us hadn't seen them before because it's a bit of an exotic fruit, so it caught some attention and we were all asking a bunch of questions about him. The boy said, "Did you know pomegranate seeds can stain your clothes and it'll never come out?" Whoa, that must be one powerful fruit. It never comes out? Never, ever, forever? Not even with the power of
OxiClean Laundry Stain Remover. It gets the tough stains out.
And then we watched the kid eat a bag of pomegranate seeds sitting sideways with the seeds on the space next to him because he didn't want to spill them on himself. Looking back, it was definitely just his mom exaggerating because she didn't want to have to deal with the stains in laundry. A sly parenting trick if I do say so myself. It's weird to think she's out there somewhere and she doesn't even realize she accidentally taught me that lesson too. This one's actually kind of common to believe, and I think a lot of people have been passing this myth around for a long time. Sitting too close to the TV is bad for your eyes. I did research on this one as well, and even though it might seem like it could be true, there's apparently no actual evidence that sitting in front of the TV is damaging to your eyes. But oh, little old Jaden believed it, and you know what I did with that information? Stand directly in front of the TV. Yeah, for some reason when I was younger, I really wanted glasses. I don't know where that came from, I just liked the look of glasses and wanted them. So when no one was looking, I would go up to the TV screen and stare at it, like 1 inch away from my face. This'll get me glasses. But it didn't work, obviously. I actually have really good eyesight. Maybe standing too close to the TV will improve your vision. But yeah, I'm glad my eyesight sabotage plan didn't work because having glasses just seems like a hassle and inconvenience. Tip of the hat to anyone out there with glasses or contacts or even glass eyes that are annoyed by them. Wish you the best. We people without those things forget how good we have it. This one's a bit related because it's about eyeballs again. If you try to use your eyes to look back into your head at your brain, they'll get stuck and you'll be blind forever. It's a bit of a spin-off of the other eyeball myth of if you cross your eyes too much, they'll get stuck like that. I never believed that one, but I believe this brain one. A friend told me once that if you tried to look at the back of your head with your eyes, you might be able to see your brain, and we spent the whole day trying to do it. Then, when I went home, I asked my mom about it, and she said, "Don't do that, they'll get stuck." I think I believed it so quickly because if you try, it does kind of hurt your eyes a bit because they're not really supposed to be able to look back into your head like that. And I thought that was like your body saying, "Don't push it, this is a warning." And even to this day, I'm a bit nervous pushing my eyes to their rotation limit. I don't know how else to say it. I know it's not true, but it's still always in the back of my mind, which I'll never be able to see. And finally, the most ridiculous thing I believed. So I don't know how this happened. No one told me this. I don't understand where I went wrong here, but somehow I ended up confusing the disease tetanus with AIDS. I don't know how I did that. Back then, I didn't even know what AIDS was. And yes, I am considered a PG channel for the most part, so if you're a youngster watching and you don't know what AIDS is, your parents will explain it more in a few years. It's a disease that you don't need to worry about for the time being. Only adults should need to worry about it. So yeah, I thought tetanus was called AIDS. The disease that you can get from an infected cut was called AIDS to me. And the worst thing about it is this one time someone accidentally cut themselves on a rusty shovel, and I have the memory of saying, "Careful, you could get AIDS." What? Why? How did this happen to me? I don't understand what went wrong. How do I mix those two things up? But whatever. I know the difference now, and that's all that matters. But I do sometimes mix up saying tetanus and Tetris. Careful, you could get Tetris.
Do you want to join soccer? Not really. My mom had me in physical activities before I was even able to comprehend the idea of free will. But that's not anything I'm complaining about. I really enjoyed most of them, and it got me being active really early in life. If mom didn't do that, I definitely would have just sat on the floor of my room and played with a light bright for 15 years. When I was 4, my mom was like, "All right, up and at 'em, future diva. Time to get those feet a-tapping." Since I was so young, I really don't remember anything about dance classes. I know we had a tumbling part where we would spin around or do somersaults. And I think there was a giant foam cheese wheel I would run full speed into. I don't know what that was all about. I also have this distinct memory that when I was on my way to class, I was chewing gum in the back seat, and for some stupid reason, I took it out of my mouth and started playing with it, except it started sticking to my fingers the more I tried to get it off, and by the time mom opened the door to let me out, one dance recital, I was doing this routine with other girls in front of the parents. I was in the center like the little queen I was, and apparently in the middle of the performance, the girl on the left froze up and stopped dancing. "Megan, I swear to God, if you ruin my big moment, I'll put gum in your hair." I guess it wasn't that big of a deal, but there was a part where we had to start shuffling to the side, and she still wouldn't move. So what did I do to continue the show? I grabbed her tiny 4-year-old hand. We looked at each other, I nodded, and her eyes lit up with determination. We danced in sync for the rest of the show, hitting every step perfectly. And her eyes lit up with determination. We danced in sync for the rest of the show, hitting every step perfectly, and got a standing ovation from all the parents as we were showered by flowers. Just kidding, I started pushing her as I was dancing because she was in my way. After blowing it out of the water and becoming too good at dance with gum webs and shoving away the competition, I dropped it and started cheerleading. And I don't remember anything about that era at all. My parents could be like, "No, you never did cheerleading." And I'd be like, "Yeah, okay." One time getting out of my dad's car to go to practice, I slammed the door onto my thumb and was like, "Dad!" And that's it, that's all I got for you. It doesn't have anything to do with cheer at all. But here's a picture of me doing some cheer thing for proof I did it. And also, here's my thumb. Yes, I still have it. Next up was gymnastics. That was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. Not because we were doing a bunch of crazy flips and spinning around bars. Nah, I was just a freaking pussycat. I was so bad at everything. I was the first to fall over with the wall handstands. I couldn't do a single pull-up. Still can't. I didn't know why people kept yelling, "Stick it at me." Yeah, stick it to the man. I was so wimpy and bad, I was the kid the coaches had to pull aside during practice and be worked on one-on-one. While everyone else was having fun in the foam pit, I was taken off to the side to work on not being a failure. Jaden, lean back. I'm spotting you. We're gonna do a back bend. No, I can't do it! Just lean back. My arm is right here. Never! I have no reason to trust you! Stick it to the man. I didn't spit in anyone's face. But I was never able to do a back bend because I trusted no one and thought I'd just fall over and die. I was a woke 6-year-old. Already knew not to trust anyone but myself. Aren't you the one who slammed your own thumb into a car door?
And then one time, I was at a friend's house jumping on a trampoline, and I landed on my knees weird and somehow spun it into an excuse to stop gymnastics. Yay, quitting! Not a prodigy-born gymnast? Well, alright then, how about soccer? I played soccer for a long time, just like everyone else has, and actually really enjoyed it for a while. My first team was called the Pink Panthers because our uniforms were hot pink. I was the nerd of the team that kept a stuffed animal Pink Panther in my soccer bag for good luck. It didn't work, we sucked butt, but it was still a lot of fun. Coincidentally, one time we played against another team that was also pink. They were called the Pink Panthers. Alright, Pink Panthers, we've got a big game this weekend against the Pink Panthers. Well, it sounds like we win either way. All the parents would be trying to cheer for us, but it was pretty confusing because it would just turn into, go Pink go hot Pink Panthers! Come on, light Pink Panthers, you got this.
Don't pass it to the other team. That's your own goal.
Whatever. I ended up not liking soccer after a while because everyone was getting more and more intense about it.
Freaking destroy them, Amelia! Kick their shins! Yellow cards are just warnings!
How about we just have fun, guys? I couldn't keep up with the burning hunger for victory everyone else started developing, and I started getting really scared. Whenever there was a one-on-one charge to the ball, I would run at full speed to look like I was dedicated and wanted to win. But at the last second, I just run past him because I didn't want to get plowed or kicked in the face. And then I kept running and ran all the way home. Call me selfish, but I wasn't taking a soccer ball to the face for this madness. I wasn't that devoted to the team. Like, I don't mind losing. During soccer, I also tried karate for a couple years, and enjoyed that too. Until it started getting more extreme and everyone was gaining an undying thirst for intensity again. Hey, this is kind of fun. There isn't much to say here. I enjoyed it for a long time. My brother and I were in the classes together. That was some fun sibling bonding time.
Yeah!
We participated in little tournaments where we would perform our forms and spar each other. Sometimes we would have to perform forms to music, and it was like a little dance recital, except without any 4-year-olds that needed to be shoved off the stage. And I'm not gonna show any footage of those tournaments because it's very embarrassing, and I don't need that on the internet. Finally, in 6th grade, I dropped everything and started up tennis, which was the first sport I actually got the hang of and loved. I even joined the high school team, which was cool. One time when we were practicing after school, the guys' track team was doing warm-ups by the courts, so they were all lined up behind the fence in the sitting area. It was pretty chill. We were doing our own thing and stuff, but every once in a while, one of them would make a stupid comment like, "Yeah, you go girls.
Come on, hit it harder."
No one took note of them because they were just pesky boys and we were too busy kicking butt. But at one point, I smacked the ball hard enough that it bounced and stuck right into the fence where one of their faces were. I don't like showing off in front of guys or people or anything. That's not at all my thing. I can be attracted to all genders, which is normal and not a big deal, and would still rather just stand in a dark corner and not draw attention to myself and be invisible. But the shock on his face and the fact he stumbled back a bit out of surprise, freaking hell yeah. That made me feel like All Might for a sec there, with his sassy attitude and taking no bull from anyone. Haha! I am here! Little side story. Tennis practice in the Arizona summers were frickin' brutal. It would be 116 degrees outside and we would be playing for 3 hours. There were points where people would be in the middle of a match, go off to the side to throw up, and then get right back into playing. Blech. 15 love? And that's it. That's all the sports I've been involved in during my lifetime so far. I'm glad I have all those experiences because I feel like they gave me a lot of spice and variety to my life during those times. It's really important for your health to keep active, and I had a lot of fun just being a kid running around and doing sports and feeling great. And now I do nothing but sit behind a computer and draw for 11 hours straight. The end.
You know the drill at this point. Pokemon faints, it dies, catch one Pokemon per route and nickname it to set up for emotional trauma. But this time we're doing something a bit different. A 2-person Nuzlocke. It's technically called a Soul Link, but no one knows what that means. So basically you and person 2 play the same Pokemon game at the same time, following the same Nuzlocke rules. However, your Pokemon are linked, which means if my starter dies, player 2's starter also dies. And they can't do anything about it. Plus, we can only have one primary typing for both of our teams combined. So if I catch a water type and add it to my team, person 2 can't have a water type at all on theirs. And cherry on top, all Pokemon are randomized. I can walk into the grass at any point and accidentally find God. And maybe he'll just kill all my animals right then and there. So with all these new rules in place, I needed to find a player too. One who's a real Pokemon master, able to adapt, improvise, and strategize all at the drop of a hat. And who else other than Pokemon Master himself? Jacob Alpharad, who at this point in time has a 50-50 Nuzlocke win ratio. Here's our Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Soul Link Nuzlocke. We both go downstairs, barely greet our mom, and immediately beeline it to Professor Elm's lab to see what Pokemon he's got for us, because we don't know. They're random. In case you forgot what I just said, we stroll up to him and he pats Jacob on the head and goes, "Here, choose from these 3. I picked them specially for you. Torterra, Tentacruel, or Ludicolo."
10 out of 10 friends say you have to go to that wing place.
Curl or Ludicolo. Alright, what do I get? Why not Mankey Ariatus? Awesome. Jacob takes Torterra and I take Mankey, and we named them Franklin. On our way to talk to Mr. Pokemon, Jacob runs into a Regirock in a random patch of grass, which just flat out explodes on him. No one died, luckily, but also, oh my god. We get an egg, and immediately Professor Elm calls and tells us he's been robbed and bullied. You really couldn't handle being alone for 10 minutes, could you? On our way back to help a grown adult, we stumble onto a shady figure who scoffs, challenges us to a battle with Pokemon he stole from Elm, which we immediately win, scoffs again, then drops his wallet, passport, credit card, driver's license, social security, Target gift card on the ground in front of us for the world to see. Dude, get your craps together. You can't be doing that when you're a wanted fugitive. Back in the lab, Elm is crying on the floor as the police and our neighbor are trying to comfort him, and the police asks us if we saw anyone suspicious. Yes, we saw his info. Now here we get to name our rival. Jacob and I try to think of someone that we both shared some sort of rivalry with. When we remembered a certain professional Pokemon Nuzlocker has been consistently reacting and critiquing our Nuzlocks so far, some of his comments were more critical than others, and directed at one of us more than the other. Mr. Policeman, his name is Jan. Hi, Jan. Let's see if you can destroy us from the inside out. Anyway, our neighbor takes us out to some grass to show us how to catch a Pokemon, runs into Articuno, catches it in a Pokeball in the green, and turns to us and goes, "See? Just like that." They give us some Pokeballs and we can finally start our journey. We both run around in the grass and our first encounters are Barboach and Houndoom. This would have been awesome for Jacob if he could catch the dang thing. Since we only had Pokeballs, Houndoom was not getting in the ball no matter what, and we ended up not getting that pair. But you know, it's alright. There's plenty more encounters like Hoppip Farfetch'd that Jacob accidentally kills, or Geodude Gyarados that Jacob accidentally kills, or Tyrogue Charizard that Jacob accidentally kills. Hey, why do I get this? And Jacob gets all this. And why do you keep killing him, Jacob? But finally, in the Ruins of Elf, we managed to catch a new pair. Sandslash, Camerupt. Not bad at all. We tried to name them Michael, but both misspell it, so welcome to the team, Michels. Then on Route 32, we catch Totodile Beedrill, which is also pretty good, mainly for just me. We started combining the two Pokemon to create their names, so we ended up somehow with Bedrodo. We ran into a trainer who had a frickin' Palkia on his team. Fun fact, did you know if you Google Palkia type weakness, Google will tell you that he's weak to Fairy and Salamence? No other dragons, just Salamence. So Jacob and I started joking around every time we saw a Palkia. Oh no, if only I had a Salamence. Uh-oh, don't have a Salamence over here. It was kind of strange how many Palkias we ran into, but that didn't stop us from bullying every single one. So we take on Faulkner, the first gym leader, who has Kyogre Bronzor and Metagross Dragonair. Oh my god. After a lot of difficulty, we both managed to beat him with no casualties. I don't know how that happened, but hey, everyone's alright.
Oh, he's gonna take himself out. Oh my god!
How about some encounters to lighten the mood? Oh, hello, Shuckle Suicune. That Jacob accidentally kills. In Azalea Town, we challenge Bugsy, who luckily wasn't as stacked as Faulkner. And as we step outside, Jan, who is surprised we haven't been demolished yet, yeah, I'm surprised too, challenges us to a battle, which we also win. Hehehe. We run into Mawile Deoxys in the forest, who someone accidentally kills, and make our way to Goldenrod, where there's a security guard that'll give us both a Pokemon. He hands me a Porygon 2, which I'm ecstatic about, turns to Jacob, and gives him Regigigas. which we can't use because they're both normal types. Of all the legends you had to get, of course you get the only normal type besides actual God. We beat Whitney and in the national park find Piplup Flaffy, which we named Plap. I pitched to Jacob that I'm willing to trade the Bedrotas to make room for this new pair, so he essentially switches Beedrill with Flaffy, which we shake on. Welcome to the team, Plaps. And then my Plap immediately almost gets killed.
Jaden.
I'll fix it.
Sorry, my bad. We find Dragonair Shuppet, which is an actually insane pair we could use right away. But yeah, I ended up killing that one. Look, I'm sorry, Jacob. It is harder than it looks to catch these things. We pour water on the strange trees on Route 36 that actually turn out to be Cradily Silcoon. We kind of named them Dilly-Doo and could have added them to the team as death fodder, but we ended up forgetting to. Which is, yeah, a pretty silly mistake, but what's the worst that could happen? Who needs death fodder in a Nuzlocke? Jacob and I make it to Ekritik and walk into the burned tower. As we were about to go down there, Jan runs up and is like, "You're only trying to catch Suicune to make yourselves look stronger than you actually are." And we're like, "No, we killed him a while ago." But he still wanted to battle, probably to show off the Mew he somehow found. We beat him yet again, go downstairs, scare off the dogs, and go challenge Morty. Jacob didn't have any trouble for the team Morty had for him, but for me, I was having a bit of a harder time because he had a Lugia, which neither me nor my team could even handle. All I could do was bubble beam it with Plap and pray I don't get crit one-shot as Jacob just sits there watching. But it ended up working out. We arrive in Olivine and climb the giant lighthouse, almost falling to our literal death along the way. Reach Jasmine at the top, who's like, "Climb back down and go get medicine for Amphi and Cianwood." And we were like, we almost died getting here. Surfing to Cianwood, we encountered Abomasnow Pupitar. And I know what you're thinking.
How I bulk the most by doing the least. My go-to hack for hitting my protein goals? Factor.
We encountered Abomasnow Pupitar, and I know what you're thinking. Yeah, we did catch them. Abomatar joined the team immediately, and suddenly we've got a pretty powerful lineup going on. Also, a random guy in town gifted us a Mewtwo and Weepinbell. Finally, I'm the one with the legend now. But we had to box him because we couldn't have two grass types. All of this sudden shared luck combined with our 0-death win streak got us feeling pretty confident, which naturally means it's time to get kicked in the throat, specifically by a black belt martial artist. Gym leader Chuck was indescribably tough in the most bullcrap way possible. For me, Jacob had no trouble at all because he's Jacob. He had a Kingdra, which I brought Abomatar out for. Nothing else on my team could really do anything against it. The main drawback of this is Abomatar's Snow Warning ability, which creates hail, damaging every Pokemon, including my own, that's not an ice type, which is pretty inconvenient in a Nuzlocke. I even made a teeny tiny comment about it when I first got him.
I'm gonna call it. Snow's gonna kill one of my Pokemon.
Kingdra goes down, and Chuck's only other Pokemon, he's only got two, is Frostlass, who, if you don't know, has Snowcloak. Snowcloak makes the Pokemon 20% harder to hit if there's hail. You want to know how many Pokemon in Gen 4 have this ability? 5. 3 of which being Mamoswine. You want to know how many Pokemon there are in Heart Gold Soul Silver? 493. Now, I know these odds sound pretty awful already, but you know what this Frostlass does? She uses Ominous Wind. Ominous Wind has a 10% chance to boost every single stat of the user. She gets the stat boost twice in a row. After a lot of strategizing, we both decided the best option for us would be to send in Michael as death fodder to heal up Plap, because he's the only one that can really do anything at this point. And what happens?
Please don't get another stat boost.
He's good. He's so good.
No.
Oh my! Frostlass crit one-shots Michael as soon as he comes out. Our first deaths. Poor Camerupt, he was so proud for making it out of Chuck's gym and then just falls over dead for no reason. I got Plap healed up and basically started heal stalling, which, sure, isn't a noble strategy, but come on. After literally struggling against my own bad luck for what felt like hours, finally, Frostlass goes down.
Finally. Holy shit.
Jacob practically drags me out of the gym and we head to the BC. We decided to add a pair we caught back on Route 35, which was Charmeleon Donphan named Darfel. A fantastic duo. I was admittedly And I think justifiably still really salty about what we just went through, but Jacob convinced me that we should just move on. We got our Darfels leveled up and returned to Olivine to feed Amphi the medicine that we picked up so Jasmine would finally do her job. And check this out.
Already done.
You're right. Oh my god.
Look at our two screens real quick.
Nah, it's all right. She also had a Geoxys. We headed to Mahogany Town, catching and adding Nidoran and Beryl, named Beryl, to the team. And in the Lake of Rage, Jacob caught a Kyogre paired with my Swalot. We never used this pair, but I just wanted to mention it for reasons. We approached the glistening shadow of the lake beast, activate the encounter, and find a shiny Banerian Donphan. Not, you know, the best, but hey, free shiny Pokemon. Doesn't hurt to cat. Oop, I killed it. That's, again, my bad. Sorry. Lance walks up to us and goes, "Hi, I'm Lance." Grabs us by the wrist, kicks down the door to the Mahogany Town 7-Eleven, kills one of the guys in there, and runs into the rocket hideout where he continues to wipe out any living organism he finds down there. Classic Lance. We decided to copy him and beat up all the executives and their power generator. Right before we fly to Goldenrod, we pick up the 7th badge and then continue curb stomping Team Rocket. We were getting a bit too comfy though, and as Jacob wasn't paying attention, mainly because he just got a chicken sandwich, Obamatar was killed by a Golem's earthquake. Oh no. That was a really bad blow and stung much more because we weren't paying attention. But we did have to move on, especially since we were literally in the middle of a gang fight. We shoved our way to Rocket Executive and Big Boss Archer and give him a bit of a throat chop so he would calm down and stop doing whatever it is he was doing. And everyone is saved. On our way to Blackthorn, we catch Frostlass Corfish, which put me into a vengeful trauma spiral. You. And then Jacob caught himself both a Suicune and an Azelf. We arrived and took on Claire, who led with a Mewtwo against me, which at this point I shouldn't even be surprised. But all the rest of our team was pretty much a pushover for both of us. Claire's a bad sport and refused to think we were good trainers, so we talked to the old man behind the gym and he's like, "So do you beat your Pokemon?" And we were like, "No." And he's like, "Awesome. Claire, give him the stupid badge." What? So now we can head to the Elite Four. Hey guys, I think you should go fight a horde of Asian women in Ecruteak. So we enter the Ecruteak Theater and start fighting the women, and the second girl for me sends out Ambipom. As I switched to Franklin, it screeched, which I didn't pay attention to, and Ambipom double hit killed Franklin. Our starters died. Dude, that was really sad. We were about to make it to the Elite Four with them, and bam. Not alive anymore. They were with us through everything, pretty much the backbone to our teams. Man, Jan's gonna make so much fun of us when he finds out. As we're still mourning, the last Kimono girl rest spams with Wailord. "Do you have any dignity, woman? We're lamenting over here." We try to leave and the girls are all, No, go catch the legendary Pokemon." He's already got 3, so I head to Whirl Islands and Jacob scales the bell tower, and what legends do we find? The legendary Zangoose and Loudred. Finally, we have some freedom again, and as soon as we touch the water in Newbark to head to Victory Road, what pops up from the bottom of the lake but Entei himself? And Doduo. Oh my god! Hello, Dode. That's going in the box because fire types. We catch Cascoon Regirock in Victory Road, and heading towards the exit, Jan sprints up from behind us, and I iconically say, "This is your last chance to kill one of our Pokemon, Jan." And what happens?
K-12 makes going back to school easy. We deliver an education that takes your child beyond the...
And I iconically say, "This is your last chance to kill one of our Pokemon, Jan." And what happens? Oh my god. No.
What happened? Oh. That's not great.
He killed one of our Pokemon. Yeah, that sucks. That really sucks. Darfell was an incredible pair we've had since the 5th gym, and we really grew to lean on. We lost quite literally half our team right before the Elite Four. We beat Jan for the last time, enter the Indigo Plateau, and immediately bolt to the PC to see what kind of damage control we can do. After a very long time of trying to stitch together the best teams possible, we ended up with this. Ampharos Empoleon, Bibarel Nidoqueen, Beautifly Cradily, Dodrio Entei, and Victory Bell Mewtwo. I know. Wow, Jaden, super balanced. You've got Mewtwo and Entei and Jacob has a Beautifly. Look, this is the best we could do, I promise. Tell him, Jacob, tell him. Anyway, big deep breath. Here we go into the unknown depths of the Elite Four. Will, Coda, and Bruno were all no problem at all. We breezed right past them. Everything was going great.
This is fine.
It's done.
Yeah, he's... Oh my god. It's fine. I win these.
On the other hand, Karen was not as nice.
No, I just mean, what if he does any charge move?
Oh.
Okay, he just did cross chop. He's dead. It's fine. I was safe to fly him. I'm just paranoid. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh no. Guys, we're so sorry we got you killed in the first, 15 minutes of having you. We ended up getting out of the battle with no more casualties, but facing Lance with a team of 4 each is really not ideal, to say the least. But we walked up to him nonetheless. Whether we win or lose here, this is our last battle. He leads with Fiona and Ledian, which we were both like, ha ha ha, Lance, is this all you've got? And then he hits us with the no. Jacob was up against his Porygon Z, Rampardos, Licky Licky, Zapdos, and Plusle. And even though it's a pretty stacked team, he was holding his own and getting through them really well. On my end, I was dealing with a giga-impacting Snorlax, which I really had nothing for. I just had to pray for no crits and as many misses as possible. It goes down eventually, and what does he send out next? Palkia. Oh, I could really use a Salamence right about now. This is what we get. We bullied Palkia so much during our journey here. Looking at my team, I don't have anything that can handle Palkia either, except for Mewtwo. And what happens? He gets Spatial Rend crit one-shot turn 1. I am in a lot of trouble. I took so much time getting past Snorlax that Jacob was already done with his battle, so all he could do was watch this massacre from the sidelines. I sent out Dillydoo to confuse stall him and just try to chip away at him with basically nothing. And my god was I lucky, because if Palkia hit one more crit at any point, Dillydoo and the run was over. And I was forced to dance on that line for a long time. But eventually, Dillydoo lands the finishing blow. I was so proud. The pair that we caught so early on and deemed as death fodder was the one saving us. We're so sorry for doubting you, Dillydoo. Thank you for sticking by us and not dying. But that was only half of Lance's team, might I remind you. Plap took out his Sand Slash, which stung, but Bastiodon came out, tanked Plap's Surf, and killed him with Metal Burst. I was in shock with that one. That was our second oldest pair. Ever since our Franklins died, Jacob and I both started seeing the Plaps as our star members. Beryl came out and revenge finished the Bastiodon, and Lance's last Pokemon was big ol' hard-hitting, tanky frickin' Azumarill. I sent Dillydoo back out because Beryl would die immediately, and started the chipping game again. If that wasn't bad enough, Azumarill set up the rain and an Aqua Ring for itself, which turned this fight from, to, this awful one-on-one lasted 10 whole minutes. I slap him, he slaps back, much harder, and then heals, and then I heal. But eventually, Dillydoo wins the stalling battle.
How are you taking on RMS?
We're taking on RMS, one infusion at a time, twice per year.
Dillydoo wins the stalling battle, and Azumarill goes down. In an unpredictable turn of events, Dillydoo saved us from utter defeat. What an adventure we just went on. Insane encounters, insane bullcrap, friends, death, bullying, and the Dillydoos. Thanks for going on this journey with me, Jacob. I quite literally couldn't have done it without you. And a salute to the buddies we made along the way. Except you. So imagine this. It's Christmas Eve. You're getting ready for bed and everything is prepared for the perfect Christmas morning. Chestnuts are roasting on an open fire. The cookies are out. The house is silent and calm. Everyone has the standard things on their Christmas list. Puppies, Nintendo Switches, for father to finally find milk. But yours is different. All your life, you've loved and have been fascinated by insects. You were teased in school for catching ladybugs in the bushes, ostracized from everyone for gleefully watching the grasshoppers. You've spent years trying to repress your love for bugs, but you're finally embracing it. This year is different. You're going to ask Santa for the one thing that brings you joy in life. Ants. You tuck yourself into bed, awaiting the early morning to see if your wish comes true. And as you're thinking about parenting your future ants, your eyelids feel heavy as you drift off to sleep. You don't know how many hours have passed, but you're suddenly awakened by a strange sensation. Your body is burning, flaring up, itching everywhere. The worst itching you've ever experienced in your life. What's happening? Is it a Christmas miracle? Did you finally receive the ants you were desperately hoping for? Your skin is getting more and more itchy by the second. You're in the most discomfort you've ever felt, and you feel like you're gonna cry from pain. No doubt about it. Ants. All over. You rip open the sheets to find... oh... it's not a whole colony of ants attacking you. It's hives. So back to me. I've never had hives until last December, and it was the worst thing that's ever physically happened to me. Around the night of the 21st, I was relaxing and playing video games on my couch. Ari was on me because it's snuggly and nice, but about an hour or so in, I started feeling itchy around my neck and shoulders where he'd been sitting. I didn't think much of it, but when I was getting ready for bed, I realized the area that was itchy was actually kind of red. On paper, that seems a bit like, that's not really normal, but you scratch yourself all the time and get a bit red. I just thought, Ari's nails are probably a bit too long and irritated my skin. I'll have to cut them tomorrow, and left it at that. 4 a.m., I'm woken up by more itchy. I itched it, and it got double itchy. Well, that doesn't seem right. I went to the bathroom to see what was up, and the area that was irritated before was even more red, and maybe a bit bigger this time. I can't remember. It was 4 a.m. I was like, that's not great. And then went back to bed. I mean, there wasn't anything I could do about it. I didn't have any anti-itch cream or anything. All I've got is an expired bottle of mini ibuprofens and a dried out cleaning wipe. The next morning, after a bad night's sleep, I got out of bed and whoop, it spread to my back. Yep, this is not good. Did I do anything about it? Nope. I was like, whoop, I sure hope this cures itself somehow. I'm gonna go to work now. But after like an hour of sweating from discomfort and getting nothing done, I decided, yeah, I should probably go to urgent care. So I went to urgent care. Have you eaten anything new or that you're allergic to? No. Have you taken any medication that's new or you're allergic to? No. Have you been bitten by any bugs you might be allergic to? No. Looks like dermatitis. So I got a dermatitis diagnosis, picked up the pills and lotion he prescribed me, and by the time I got home, I was so itchy it started to feel like actual pain. I ran into my room and immediately took the medication and started hoping I would feel better soon. All I could do was lay on my bed and do nothing because every time I moved or touched something, it would send shocks of pain and irritation down my body. And I preferred not to have that. I decided to call my friend to tell them what was happening to keep my mind off everything and use them for moral support because I was going crazy. After maybe an hour, I was like, actually, I think I feel absolutely worse. Everywhere I put the lotion was even more red and itchy. It was spreading to my legs and hands, and I felt like I provoked the devil. This must be the karma for swearing that one time. I told my friend, I'm in so much pain and discomfort, I can't think straight, and I've been sitting on the floor not being able to move for 30 minutes. What should I do? Go to the hospital? You think so? Yes, go to the hospital. I don't know, maybe if I just wait a bit more, go to the hospital. Okay. I arrived at the hospital and hobbled in the best I could because the feeling of my shoes and clothes rubbing against my skin made me want to cry. They were really busy, so I had to sit on a bench in a hallway for about an hour. I was finally taken to a bed, given a shot along with a mystery pill, and about 40 minutes later, I felt better. But they kept me there for 4 more hours just to be safe. By the time I got home, I was sighing with relief. It felt so good to not be in total body pain and wanting to claw my skin off. I'd forgotten that feeling. The hospital gave me a new prescription because they were like, pretty sure you have hives, not dermatitis. But I didn't get it filled because it was late and I figured I could just get the new medication tomorrow since I was feeling all right. The good thing was I was feeling better and had the right diagnosis. But the scary thing that got me worried was this all started when Ari was on me. The flare-up started in the exact area he was sitting on the other night, so if I hadn't eaten or done anything different from my usual day-to-day life, could that mean I developed a really bad allergic reaction to him? So that terrified me a bit. Anyways, I had plans to see my family for Christmas and was worried that I'd have to miss my flight because of this, but things seemed all good now. 1 a.m., woke up, itchy. It was back and ready to absolutely just kick my teeth in. I wasn't freed from this hive's curse. I'd only escaped its grasp for a few hours. It wasn't at its worst yet, but I knew it wouldn't take long to get there, so I raced to the nearest 24-hour pharmacy to pick up my new prescription, took it, and then just got an Uber to the airport because I couldn't sleep. Early flight? Not really. I'm just getting there early. Well, it's always good to be early for flights. When is it? 3 p.m. I tried to get a bit of sleep in the airport, but it didn't work. The good thing was that the prescription was doing a relatively good job at keeping back the hives. I could still feel the itchy, but it was like muffled, if that makes sense. I got on my flight no problems and landed in Arizona to my very calm parents who were like, hives? Are you okay? How'd you get hives? Are you okay? The hives had been manageable the whole day until I was getting ready to go to bed and they started flaring up again. This time worse than ever. I thought I'd experienced pain before, but the hives were mocking me. The previous ones were teasers. This time they were dishing up the main course. Everything was put into mega gear, served up on the grill of Gordon Ramsay himself. Served up on the grill of Gordon Ramsay himself. See if you like this, bitch. Off to the hospital we went, 12 o'clock at night. We arrived at a normal hospital first, and by the time we arrived, I could barely walk. I was in so much pain and agony. I shuffled in, hunched over like I was 95 years old and about to just fall over and turn to dust immediately. Also, I was actually crying at this point. No, oh, I'm gonna cry, this hurts, boo-hoo. Nah, this time was like, yeah, time to cry now. I wasn't having a good time. We sat there for maybe 40 minutes and no one was helping us, so my dad asked how long they estimated the wait would be, to which they said an hour, so we were like, My dad decided to take me to a local urgent care because they've got a family friend who works there. It was more familiar and also probably less busy. We arrived and had a bit of a wait, but I was finally admitted into a room. The doctor walked in and was like, "Yep, looks like hives," and stuck me with an EpiPen. I'm lucky enough to not have any really bad allergies like peanuts or something. I know a good amount of people who are like, lol, if I sniff the smallest dust fragment of a peanut, my body will just give up on me. So they have an EpiPen on them at all times. I'm allergic to cats, but they just make me sneeze, so I've never experienced the magic of an EpiPen before. And my God, that thing was like Jesus just being injected straight into my blood. Within seconds, my body started feeling better and all of my hives cleared up immediately. If you've never almost died from an allergic reaction, I totally hope you have one just so you can experience the magic of an EpiPen. I mean, I hope you never almost die, but I'm just saying, if you do. Anyway, problem solved. The doctor didn't really say anything else. He kind of just gave me the EpiPen and sent me on my way when he saw I was doing better, which, fair enough. I went to bed in relief. Finally, it was all over. I can have a nice Christmas after all with my family and live on in peace. 8 a.m., woke up, hives all over. This time, I wanted to just close my eyes again and perish. Oh, this one. This was the worst it had ever been. I didn't even know it was possible to experience this level of itchy combined with unbearable pain. I was in awe. It's amazing how absolutely torturous this pain is right now. And I haven't even been stabbed. The day before, when I said it was in mega gear and the main course, I was kidding. This was one of those meals where they give you the appetizers and the main course, but surprise, the dessert is a knuckle sandwich. All the hives in the world were like, this one, let's get this one. I was covered in bumps and red. My mom looked at me right before we were about to go to urgent care and her face was like, I don't think there's any words that could describe how absolutely abhorrent and atrocious I felt. The itchiness was so extreme, it felt like needles all over. Every time something just grazed my skin, it felt like, yep, it's time to die. See y'all later. Arrived at urgent care, couldn't move, looked like a boiled, diseased shrimp. This time we got Dr. Cruz, our family friend I mentioned earlier. He's super nice and caring and an amazing doctor to go along with it. First of all, I got another EpiPen. Yay! And then he prescribed me like 4 new medications, none of which I remember the names of, but one of them was steroids. I can now say I've been on steroids before. So yeah. I can probably beat you all in football now. I'll cut the fat and just say the medications Dr. Cruz prescribed me were it. They were the ones that blocked the hives and helped me recover. I've been freed for the first time in 3 days, and they never came back after that. I took some blood tests and turns out I didn't test positive in any allergic reactions they looked for. I was able to come home and Ari didn't make me flare up, so I wasn't allergic to him. That was a huge relief. I had to seriously consider if I would have to get rid of Ari if he was the one giving me hives, because I just couldn't live with hives that extreme. But it wasn't, so we're good. The only thing we could conclude was it was just caused by a huge buildup of stress. I'd been really busy and burnt out from a bunch of conventions and traveling up until that point, so they said, yeah, stress combined with an immune system glitch is probably what caused it. We don't know what else it could be. And we're like, all right. And I haven't had hives since. So moral of the story is take breaks before your immune system turns on you. Because let me tell you, your immune system does not hold back.
You guys know Gabe the dog, right? Well, he died just recently. Rest in tranquility, sweet puppers. Your borks will forever echo in our hearts. I wish his family the best. It's always heartbreaking to hear when people lose their pets. All animals want is love and happy, and it's just so sad because you feel for the people who took such great care of them and loved them, and they had an unbreakable bond, and I'm an animal lover. I can't help myself. Alright, calm down. I'm trying to record. Stop. You're messing up the recording. Calm down!
If you play video games a lot, you might be able to get paid for it, no joke. If you live in the US and you played video games for over 10 hours at any time in the last 5 years, you might just be eligible for financial compensation. There's a lawsuit in the works right now for gaming addictions, and you might just qualify based on your—
Stop! You're messing up the recording! Calm down! When I heard the sad news about Gabe, it reminded me of my old childhood dogs, and I thought I could tell you some stories because they're a bit insane. I'm surprised I haven't told them sooner, to be honest. I had 2 dogs growing up. The first one was a Shetland sheepdog, Keisha. Quick fact, growing up, I didn't know what the breed was called, so I just said Keisha dog, and that's what I still call them to this day. I don't have too many memories of Keisha because my parents got her before I was born, and I was too young to remember very much from the few years we coexisted, but my mom and dad have told me stories of us, including the one I'm about to share with you. Setting the timeline here, I was really young, 3 years old. I don't have memory of this, but my parents have told me about it many times. So my mom and dad decided that we should all take a nice walk around the neighborhood with Keisha. I was apparently very excited about this and was wanting to go out right at that moment. They told me to slow my roll and wait a bit because they needed to get ready, and we would go out later. But Jaden thought, nah, I'm going now. So I took Keisha and left the house on my own without telling my parents I was leaving. There was now an unsupervised 3-year-old wandering down the street, walking a dog. I can't even imagine what that could have looked like. I don't know how far down the road I got, but by some crazy coincidence, a police cruiser just so happened to be driving by and spotted me. As it started approaching, I guess I was like, shoot, they're after me! Abort! Abort! And before they could ask me any questions, I start booking it back to the house. It was around that time my parents realized I left and were getting ready to go out and find me, and they come out to the front to see their frickin' child, dog leash in hand, hightailing it from this police cruiser that's following me down the neighborhood. Everything was fine. I was fine. The dog was fine. But now you know about the one time I was chased by the police. Keisha was a great dog, as I was told. She was gentle with me as a baby and was like my own fluffy bodyguard / babysitter. But she passed away before I was old enough to really remember her. I've always loved animals my entire life and would beg my parents to let us get another dog. Years and years of nagging and just Please, Mom, I promise I'll take good care of it, and I'll feed it, and I'll water it, and give it sunshine, and everything a dog needs to grow into a big, strong doggo, please! And on my 7th birthday, my dad went behind my mom's back and got me a dog without telling her. Now, okay, we went to look at dogs before as a group, but it was never an official decision we'd get one. So here's the story of when we got our new dog. My dad went to the place to pick him up. We got him from a dog rescue, which is a recommended place to get animals because you save a life and all that. Try to look into rescues and adoptions over breeders, just a tip I thought I'd just mention. And when he was holding the dog, getting ready to take him home, the dog started peeing on him. Obviously, my dad didn't want that, so he tried to hold him away from his body, but that made the dog nervous, and he turned around and bit my dad's hand. Not wanting to drop the dog on the floor, he tried to shift him over to the other hand, but he bit that one too! My dad came home with pee on his shirt, 2 bleeding thumbs, and a dog. I named him Scruffy. Scruffy was a weird little dog, Havanese breed if you're wondering. He hated my dad and loved my mom, who was ironically the only one who didn't want him. He would follow her everywhere, and when she was at work, he'd sit in the living room and do nothing but wait for her to get back. We always joked that he was just a cat in a dog's body. Come here, Scruffy! Come here! Come here, Scruffy! But we loved him anyway. My mom gave him haircuts to make it look like he had a mohawk. So back to stories. Every morning our mom would drop us off at our elementary school down the street, and Scruffy would ride in the car too. He'd sit in the back with us and stick his head out the window, but one day he just jumped out. He freaking jumped out the window of a moving car. We weren't driving fast, mind you, because we weren't on the main road yet, but friggin' heck it, Scruffy, you can't just jump out moving cars whenever you want. He ran into the desert because he was freaked out, and we lost track of him. Of course, my brother and I still had to go to school, but I was pretty messed up for the rest of the day. And by the time I got home, he still wasn't found. This was in summer, too. A little black dog in the Arizona sun without water isn't a good combination. And he definitely wouldn't survive a night with all the coyotes around. He'd be like a little Happy Meal to him. We drove around looking for him for a long time. I was leaning out the window calling his name. And no, I didn't jump out and run away too. We didn't need 2 family members jumping out of car windows that day, you know what I'm saying? After searching and searching for so long, we were actually starting to lose hope. But we finally found him! Scruffy! Time for a bath! Finding Scruffy again was the biggest rush of relief I've ever experienced in my life. Want to hear about the second time he ran away? This was several years later. We were driving back from visiting my aunt in Tahoe, as I mentioned we do in a previous video. But it wasn't just my mom, dad, brother, and Scruffy with us. My dad's dad was with us too. We call him Opa. He's this old retired 4'11" horse jockey to give you an image of what he looks like. So we were driving in the middle of the desert on our way home, and we decided to stop at a gas station. My mom and I had to go to the bathroom, so she gave Scruffy to Opa and told him to let him go to the bathroom while we went to the bathroom. He was on a leash, so nothing could have gone wrong, right? Right? Yeah, of course not. While we were in the stall, I was still young enough to go in the same restroom stall as my mom, okay? Opa busts in and yells for my mom. There are a few other women in the bathroom too, so they were a bit startled to see this tiny old man come in and start making a ruckus. Yeah? And she sees Opa holding the leash with no dog on the end. Oh, great. Pull up your pants, we're going on a run. Since it was all mostly flat open desert, we were able to see Scruffy still booking it down the side of the road. And since it was a tiny middle of nowhere gas station, the few people that were there were all chasing after him too. Everyone was screaming at each other, "Get the dog! Get the dog!" and running around. Ugh, what a disaster. The thing is, even though Scruffy was a small dog with tiny legs, he could run. Those things can friggin' run. And when he started running, you couldn't stop him. It was like tunnel vision. Need to run, need to run, need to run. Where am I going? I don't know. If I just run, I'll get there. You could try to yell his name. It wasn't like he was gonna listen. He hardly did that anyway. So how'd we catch him? Driving down the road towards us was a white van. They saw that there was a herd of people chasing this tiny dog down the road. So they turned sideways, opened their big van car doors. You know, the kind I'm talking about, the ones that they slide. And Scruffy just jumped in. What? Scruffy, hasn't anyone taught you not to jump into white vans with strangers? They didn't even have to offer you dog treats to get you in there. And I could try to lie to you and say they closed the door and drove off with a free dog, but they didn't. They gave him back to us. But think about how easily they could have. Oh, thanks for catching our dog. We could have never caught up to him. I don't think you would have forgiven me if I tried to pull off that ending. And that was runaway attempt number 2. He loved us, I promise. Scruffy was a great dog, too. And even though it might not seem like it because I only talked about him trying to run away from us, he was glad to be part of our family, and we all loved him. If you have an animal, make sure you give him a good pat on the head and tell him you love him. Even if it's a Snake. Yeah, snakes want love too. Welcome back to Jaden Doesn't Know How to Map Out Video Lengths. Okay, so here's the story from Japan, getting home from Japan I was gonna talk about in the last video, but didn't. Please don't make fun of me. It was a long flight. I was very tired. Just kidding, I'm an actual idiot here. There's no excuse. So after another quick flight of 11 sleepless hours, I landed safely and was ready to go home and die. My roommate offered to pick me up, but my house is a good 40 to 50 minutes away from the airport, and I felt bad for making them pick me up so much because a week before I went to Japan, I was in the UK visiting friends for my birthday. Don't give me any birthday wishes. It was in September. You'll be an embarrassment to the both of us. They'd already driven me to and from the airport 3 times in the past 3 weeks, and I didn't want them to use up any more of their time and gas. So I let them know I was just gonna grab an Uber, which worked out because they were invited to go get lunch with a friend and were worried about time overlap. Win-win. They get a nice lunch, I get in a stranger's car. Warning flag number 1. I'd never used Uber before. I have my own car. I usually don't need to use an app to find a guy with a weird R name to drive me around. 10 minutes of confused button pressing later.
Watch me go from meal plan panic to meal plan perfection. 5 reasons why Factor actually saves me money. Eating clean at home can be pricey, but Factor does my shopping and cooking for me.
And a guy with a weird R name to drive me around. 10 minutes of confused button pressing later. Ding! Your Uber will arrive in 5 minutes. Nice. Hello?
Yes, is this Jaden?
Yeah, I'm at the gate. Terminal B between area 44 and 45. I don't see you. Are you near... Hello? Your Uber has canceled. What? If we were on a date and I was waiting at the table and you called me from outside the restaurant like, hey, you here? Yeah, I'm at the back in the table to the right. You can't stand me up like that. At least give me some sort of reason. Come on, come back, Rajesh. Anyway, I found out that I needed to be on the upper level of the airport because that's where all the app pickups are. Whoopsie, that's my bad. But he could have told me that when he was on the phone with me in the first place, Rajesh.
Go up the stairs.
Boom. Everyone's problem is solved here. Here's a bunch of money. When you think about it, Uber is kind of like the opposite of a kidnapping. Take me home. I got a new Uber that took 15 minutes to arrive, and an hour later I was almost home. Maps can be kind of wonky with my house address, so we started driving past my neighborhood. It was back there. Sorry about that. Oh, that's okay. Which one was it? I live in a little community with a bunch of houses, so I said it was the one on the corner. Could have been more specific, but that's just what came to my mind in the moment. He turned around but stopped at the wrong house and was like, this one? Look, I was running on no sleep for the past 20 hours, so my mush of a brain started being spazzy and socially anxious about the whole situation that wasn't even a situation. Almost all my brain cells were dead at this point, except for the one that ate grass in elementary school. Oh, you had to correct him because Google Maps is being weird? I didn't know you were Satan. I felt like I was bothering him a whole lot with all the one corrections I gave him, so in a panic I was like, this is the wrong house. Yep, this is it. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the hassle. Wow, is it great to be home at this house that I live in again. Oh, how I missed it because it is mine. I'm paying this guy and it's his job to take me to my house. So if it accidentally stops at the wrong one, it helps literally no one for me to be like, oh yeah, this is totally it. I've become a lot more socially confident and calm in the past year, but this is not a good example of that improvement at all. I am aware I look like a wreck right now. I got my stuff from the trunk, walked up the driveway. Thanks. Now I'm standing in the front step of this random house, hiding from an Uber driver, hoping the people who actually live here don't realize the random girl standing here for literally no reason. Yes, this is exactly the spot I wanted to be in right now. Honey, did we adopt a 21-year-old Asian girl, or is this a very unthreatening house robber? I was stuck there waiting for him to leave, but he was just sitting there! Hey, can you get off the driveway I don't own already? What the heck, man? I got houses to rob. He was probably waiting to get connected to a new person to pick up, but it wouldn't have looked that great if he was also noticing me poke my head out and peer at him every 10 seconds. I couldn't have started walking to my actual house because I already pretended to walk into my house, and he would have seen me and been like, hey, wait, this isn't your house. What the heck? You lied to me. For literally no reason. And I couldn't have gotten out of the car and started walking to my actual house in the first place because I told him that this was my house. He even double checked, like, you sure this is good? And I was like, yup. I was so loopy and lethargic from being up for the past 20 hours of traveling. I couldn't even tell what was reasonable at this point. Was I actually pulling this off like I thought I was? Were the neighbors just watching me dig myself deeper and deeper into this hole? Could the driver actually see me this entire time? Because that would have been hilarious. Mommy, look! A dirty homeless girl! He finally drove off, and I walked over to my actual house across the street. Yes, I've been looking forward to collapsing onto my bed since landing. I can't believe I just did all that. I'm glad the neighbors didn't call the police on me. But I don't have any keys. This wouldn't have been a problem at all because, like I said, I have a roommate. But hey, foreshadowing, were you here this whole time? They were at lunch and weren't coming back for the next 3 hours. I'm not a professional when it comes to anything, and that includes breaking into houses. But lord dang it if that skill wouldn't have been pretty darn handy to have right there. Is it a crime to break into your own house, Your Honor? Yes? No? This is kind of a weird situation for both of us, ain't it? I tried the front door, the back door, the garage door, the secret door. There wasn't any way I was gonna be able to get into this house. Which is how it should be. But I was still mad about it. Dang it, living in a house that people can't break into. Stupid. I was so drained, I contemplated just laying on the ground of my backyard for 3 hours until someone came home. But I decided that would be an inefficient use of time and also too much of a depressing scene to look at for anyone walking by. So instead, I ordered another Uber to drive me to where my roommate was so we could all hang out and then come back to the house together. Almost an hour later, I'm finally there. I tried my best to be social and energetic. We went and got lunch and stuff, but I was just in critical survival mode. Some people get all loose when they're tired or giggly or maybe even more social. But for me, my body just reverts to maintaining the baseline functions for me to just be a human. I'll breathe and look around and not fall over, but that's basically it.
Grade 12 has helped a lot with my ADHD because if I'm in an area where I feel like I'm...
Oh my god, is Jaden okay? They were getting sushi, so I tried to eat some, but coming back from eating sushi in Japan to some random place in California was just another variable of disappointing. I'm not having a good time right now. We got home, I crashed onto my bed, and proceeded to sleep for 17 hours. There's no moral to the story. I just liked it. It makes me laugh because I'm being stupid. But if I were to make one up last minute, make sure you can get into your house without keys because you never know when you're gonna need to get in without keys. That was really bad. Oh well, sorry, I don't know what else you want from me. See you later, but not in my house, because you can't get in.
Yo, what's up, homesicles? I'm gonna talk about substitute teachers. I want to say, for the most part, we all like having subs. You walk into the classroom expecting it to be a normal day, and you glance over at the teacher, and boom, it's a sub. Yes, don't have to try today. Most subs are pretty cool. They don't really care too much either, and everyone just ends up having a nice easy break day. They have this attitude okay, so I'm just gonna pop in a movie or something, do whatever you want. I'm just here to make sure you don't all go Miley Cyrus wild and poke some kid's eye out with a ruler. But sometimes they don't care too much and it gets kind of weird. Once I had a math sub where we were just doing a worksheet or something and this girl behind me was eating carrots, but all of a sudden she started choking on one of her carrots and was gasping and gagging and stuff, and everyone turned around and was mortified. What? what do we do? We all looked over at the sub for help and guidance or something because of all people, he should have a plan. And he was just looking at her, not doing anything. I'm sure if the girl could have spoke at that time, she would have said, "Freaking, I'm choking on a carrot here. What are you looking at? Do something, you buffoon!" Ah! So for a small period of time, everyone was just helplessly looking at this poor girl choking on a carrot. No one knew what to do. Finally, one guy got up and did the choking Heimlich procedure they teach us. It was so legit. He even did the "are you choking" question like they say you have to. If you haven't heard of the technique, or for some reason they changed it, the steps are: approach the person and ask, "Are you choking?" Do not proceed if they are not choking. It actually says that. Get behind the person and wrap your arms around their waist. Be ready to support them if they faint. Take your fist and place the thumb side against their belly, just above their belly button. Grab the fist with the other hand and thrust into the belly. And the final step is repeat thrusts until the object pops out or until the person faints. So the girl didn't faint. He actually got the carrot out of her throat and everyone was relieved. And after all that hullabaloo, we all kind of looked over to see what the sub had to say about the situation, and nothing. He just watched the situation with a blank slate look on his face. Like, what the heck? What are you? I've never seen less of a reaction from such a big situation from anyone in my entire life. He should make a reaction channel, come to think of it. He'd blend in with most of the people on YouTube doing it already. Anyway, enough with Mr. Blank Slate. I remember when I was in high school, we had kind of a main group of substitutes that were common to have when a teacher called in sick or something. And there was this one old man guy that everyone knew and absolutely hated. And before I say something like, "Oh, Jaden, that's kind of rude to say," in our defense, he hated us too. Whenever a person walked in and saw him sitting behind the teacher's desk, the immediate thought would be, "Oh, crap, it's gonna be a rough day today." No one had to say it, but we were all thinking it. "Okay, Jaden, so what was he like?" "Oh, stand up so you can sit down because I'm getting started." Take the strictest person you know and throw them out the window because this guy is now that person. I think he saw himself as a military instructor leading juvenile delinquents because he wanted every child to be behaving perfectly, to a T, no funny business. And yeah, that's not gonna happen in a high school, so there's problem one. He would start every class with the same lecture.
"Alright, sit down and zip up because we're taking attendance. If I hear any talking, you're being written up. I don't tolerate jokesters in my classroom. I'm going to call out your last name, followed by your first name, and if I don't hear you say present, then you're being marked absent. You should be paying attention because you only have one chance, and I'm not calling names twice. If I pronounce your name wrong, correct me. Alright, here we go."
He says that exact paragraph every time he starts a class, and I know it because I've had him enough times to have it power washed into my head. I kind of want to believe he has it written down and framed somewhere in his house so he can proudly look at it before he goes to bed every night. And he actually gets mad if you don't correct him if he says your name wrong. I know from experience. I don't care when people pronounce my name wrong. It happens all the time. I've gotten used to it. So I thought I wouldn't make a big deal out of it.
Animations Jaden.
Here.
Did I say that correctly?
It's close enough.
Correct me next time.
Sorry? He reminds me of if, like, Oscar the Grouch had a pet lemon, but the lemon was expired by 2 months and he keeps forgetting to throw it away. Like, "Oh crap, the lemon. I'll do it tomorrow." And he doesn't do it tomorrow. So I'll call him Mr. Yet to be Thrown Out Lemon, just for simplicity. I truly don't know why Mr. Yet to be Thrown Out Lemon worked as a substitute teacher, because you could just see the child hatred in his eyes. Somehow he made everyone in the class feel uncomfortable just by existing. So let me tell you a story about Mr. Yet to be Thrown Out Lemon. We had him in a biology class once, and we were just gonna work on a paper he had to pass out.
"Alright, we're gonna be doing a worksheet today. If I hear any talking, you're being written up. This is an individual worksheet, so there's absolutely no reason to talk to anyone at all during this hour. Everyone come up to the front of the room right now and grab a paper."
Mrs. Grapes does it so each person at a table has a number, and she calls out a random number, and that person just gets up and gets the paper for the rest of the table, so it's easier to—
"I will not have slaves in my classroom!"
What did he just say? This man just compared picking up papers for other classmates to slavery. Slavery! Good God,
For anyone who doesn't speak another language, you've got to try Duolingo. Did you know more than half the world's population speaks more than one?
Slavery! Good God, So we did it his way. The 34 of us all got up at the same time and shuffled to the front of the room, awkwardly squishing together to grab a paper from the one pile he made for us. You are a fruitcake. He did a lot of other weird over-the-top things, but this was by far the best thing I've ever witnessed from him. Oh, Mr. Yet to be thrown out lemon. You're a real piece of work.
No talking.
I made some new merch designs. Do you like them? I don't know, I think they're pretty cool. Link in bio. Hey friends who live in Canada, what do you think of Canada?
What do I think of Canada? Let's see. Well, when the snow melts, you get to witness the minefield of dog poop that people didn't pick up.
It's cold, but I like the cold because you can keep layering until you're warm. But in the heat, you can only get so naked. And then you just have a sunburn on your butt.
Every summer I leave Arizona to visit my family in Canada because we like seeing them and they're really great. And yeah, we also don't like to live in a volcano. We normally have a non-stop flight, but this one particular trip we decided to do a layover to save some money. I think it was July 2012, so I was like 14. A couple days before our flight, my mom realized that my brother Jack's and my passports were expired. Well, this is either gonna go over well, or it isn't. Oh, it was so much worse. We got to the flight check-in and they said, hey, these passports are expired. Obviously. But it was only by a little bit, so the guy was nice and said, okay, I'm gonna let you all through and inform your layover about what's happening, but get those renewed soon. So we were like, yay, crisis averted. But wait, there's still 95% of the video left. That's because we were wrong. We landed in Minneapolis and the people said, hey, these passports are expired. Obviously. Oh, yeah, we're sorry about that. The man at the Phoenix airport let us off with a warning and said he contacted you about everything, and well, crap, I think we're actually stuck in Minneapolis. I guess this is our new home now, get used to it, kids. So it was my scared mom and her 2 expired children stranded in this obscure city. We went to a pharmacy, which for some reason also takes passport photos, but we had to wait until the passport place opened the next morning. Mom was having an aneurysm panic attack, but didn't want us to worry, so she was like, hey kiddos, time for an adventure. Adventure time! She took us to the Mall of America, which is the biggest, craziest mall in America with 4 floors of shops, entertainment, a mirror maze, bowling, roller coasters, aquarium. I've never seen anything like it. There were so many things to do. How could we choose what to do first? Roller coasters in a mall? 4 floors? A kid's paradise? People get married in that mall. We ate at the food court for 20 minutes and left because it was closing for the night. We found a hotel and slept in our clothes, even though we had our luggage. I remember on the light rail I said to Mom, you know, I really like it here. Like the oblivious child I was, not knowing the weight of the actual circumstances. Having a grand old time listening to a High School Musical playlist on an iPod and playing with my stuffed animals. I freaking love stuffed animals. As a kid, I couldn't sleep without them. My favorites were Raoul the mouse and Ringo the raccoon. I've had them for years. Anyway, luckily, Minneapolis is one of the few places that has 1-day turnaround for passports for the cost of an arm, a leg, and your entire savings. So in the morning, we had to check out of the hotel, run to the passport place, and make it to the airport in time for our new flight. It was gonna be a tight schedule, but it was doable. We were on our way to get the passports when, in the middle of transit, I realized, Mom, I forgot my stuffed animals in the hotel. But no, it's all right. I don't need them. It's okay, really. It's not a big deal. I left Raoul and Ringo in the hotel, and Mom was already having a mental stress breakdown, and I was not at all wanting to contribute to any more of that. But Mom, being the kick-butt awesome parent she is, defeatedly pulled out her phone. Hello, yes, we just checked out this morning. Would you check room 421 to see if there's 2 stuffed animals in there? Ma'am, there's someone currently occupying that room? And that was super weird to hear because we literally just left the hotel. How did someone already fill up the room? Turns out we just called the wrong hotel, so we got transferred to the right one, and they said they'd hold them for us to quickly pick up. So now the schedule was arrive at the passport place right as it opens at 8 a.m., get passports, run back to the hotel to grab Raul and Ringo, rush to the airport before our 1 p.m. flight, and I'd also like to point out that the last shuttle to the airport leaves at 12 p.m., so if we miss that shuttle, we're screwed. Remember, things were different back in the days of 2012 BU. Before Uber. Back then, the idea of paying to jump in a car with an unlicensed stranger wasn't very popular. At the passport place, we walked up to the desk, and the first thing they said was, "So both parents are present, correct?" Actually, he's 1,645 miles away. No. There was a solution. We could get in contact with Dad, send him a form to fill out, get it notarized, which means legalized by a notary, which means a person licensed by the government approves it, okay, we don't have time for this. We have to prove the paper is legal, but there's a problem to that solution. It's 8 a.m. in Minneapolis, but 6 a.m. in Arizona, which means notarizing places aren't open. Now, my mom knows a lot of people, and one of her best friends is actually an accountant, which means she can get it notarized when she goes into work and get it sent back super quickly. Which, what are the odds of that? Mom, we should buy a lottery ticket if we actually get to Canada. So quick! Woke Dad, got the form filled, called the friend, did the thing, got the thing back, and somehow everything was accepted and we weren't expired children anymore. And off we were running down the city to get back to the hotel to grab Raul and Ringo. Okay, I'm gonna insert a tiny story detail. We left our luggage at the hotel so we wouldn't have to be dragging it everywhere, which means we would have had to get back to the hotel anyway, but it's much more intense to think that grabbing the stuffed animals was an extra step we didn't have time for, so we're gonna continue. We were sprinting to catch the light rail. Jax and I were running ahead, and for some reason Mom's knee started hurting and she started slowing down.
HelloFresh helped me finally get it together. Now, instead of scrolling delivery apps, I've got my meals ready to go when I am. Don't even have to think about it.
We were sprinting to catch the light rail. Jax and I were running ahead, and for some reason Mom's knee started hurting and she started slowing down. "Are you okay?" And she was just like, go, I'll catch up, just get to the train, go without me." We made it. We sonicked into the hotel, grabbed Raul and Ringo, and the luggage we were already coming back for, reached the shuttle before it left, and finally fell into the airport.
Yay.
Sitting at our gate, waiting for the plane to swoop us off to Canada land with their moose and their poutine and Niagara Falls.
Well, technically, Niagara Falls is made up of 3 different waterfalls, and the US actually owns 2 of them. But I guess Horseshoe Falls is the biggest and most popular, so...
Mom suddenly realized that she forgot my dad's letter at the passport showing that both parents consent to us, the innocent, helpless, pathetic children, crossing the border. In the past, security always asks us to show that consent papers, so Mom couldn't even have a relaxing plane ride being stressed out of her mind that we would land and still couldn't pass the border. After all that, she didn't tell us she was worried because she was already doing a frickin' dang good job of hiding the weight of what was going on, so she held it in the entire flight. But she told us afterwards and we gave her a slow clap. She deserved more, but we were kids. That's all we had. We approached the security booth, gave them our shiny new passports. They looked at my mom, my brother, and me. Have a fun time in Canada. They didn't ask that time! My mom, every time she tells this story, always says, "They always ask. They always ask. They didn't ask this time. How the frick even? They always ask!" And that was that. We got to Canada. That's it.
Wow, that was a lot of effort to come here.
Yeah, I mean, Canada's alright, but you guys have that Mall of America.
Okay, yeah, sure, cool. But I mean, we have West Edmonton Mall, which has an indoor water park and a theme park.
Wait, really? That exists? Well, I guess that automatically puts us on top then.
We were always on top, Dom. We are America's hat.
I promised you a flirting animation in the last video, so here you go. Big shocker. I don't like it. I'm assuming you all guessed based on my personality that I'm not one to partake in swooning someone over with charming words of flattery. I don't think I've ever flirted in my entire life, come to think of it. Okay, well, I did this one time by accident, but I'll get to that later on. I'm more of a make someone feel good and just overall let them know I care about them kind of person. I have no courage to do anything else. All I can imagine is me just trying to approach someone being like, hey there, I have a girlfriend. Oh my god, same! We have so much in common! Oof. And even if I somehow got past the initial flirty introduction, my low small talk skills won't get me very far with anything anyway. Okay, so the first time I ever tried to be a confident, flirty person, or whatever, was with this one friend I had. I liked them at the time, and we hung out a lot. And one time we were just sitting on their bed, just chilling and talking. Just buds being buds. And my mind just starts going, okay, you've never done anything close to flirty in your entire life. Who even are you? Get your crap together. Just do something. Let's go. Jeez, come on. I basically bullied myself into submission, which I didn't even know was possible, but congrats to me, I guess. I peer pressured myself without any peers. So we were just talking, and I just wrapped my arm around them, like with no warning. They were like mid-sentence, and I just like, eh. And I immediately regretted it. Like, okay, no, this is not what I want anymore. Why'd I convince myself to do this? God dang it. Cutting the story short, we just remained friends, and honestly, I'm glad we did. I realized I prefer this person much more as a friend, and I'm glad we didn't start a relationship. If anything, we just became closer as pals. They're literally one of my best friends now. They also watch my videos, so... Hey. You're probably expecting me to say this is awkward. But you're wrong! We're best friends! Sorry you can't laugh at my self-deprecation this time! Ha! Just a side tangent. I don't understand why people just stop talking to someone just because they don't share mutual feelings with them. Like, okay, so you like someone enough to possibly consider starting a closer relationship, which means you already enjoy their company, personality, and overall them as a person. And just because they don't share the same romantic feelings back, you all of a sudden don't want to associate with them anymore? That makes absolutely no sense. Minus the relationship, you two sound like you could have a freaking bomb friendship, since you theoretically should be able to get along perfectly. I mean, if you consider them as an adequate possible partner. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. Unless you're a douchebag and you only like that person for their looks and nothing else. Another part to flirting is the texting, the messaging, the sliding in the DMsing. And I don't really do that either, but I have something to say about it. So I guess I understand why you would want to wait a few minutes to text someone back because you don't want to seem clingy or something. But why do people wait like more than 10 minutes? That's such a waste of time. And it kind of comes off that you don't really care that you're talking to them, which is the opposite of what you're feeling. Why can't we show when we appreciate someone anymore? Also, I know people who want to text someone they like as little as possible because, I don't know, again, it makes it seem like they don't want to be texting them or something. They'll almost make it a competition to try and leave the conversation first. Like, congrats, you win on finding a way to make them be the last to text in your conversation. You know what your prize is? Not getting to talk to the person you want to talk to. Putting it that way doesn't make it seem all that appealing, does it? So now I'm sure you're wanting me to tell you stories that make me kind of die a bit inside, but provide you with entertainment. And you're right, let's start with awkward first date, shall we? During my junior year of high school after our homecoming dance, my group of friends and I wanted to go bowling because fun. I didn't have a date. Obviously. At the bowling place next to our lane were a group of people around the same age as us, and out of the blue, one of my friends just goes, "Hey, will you guys take a picture with us so it looks like we have dates?" Rachel! So we took pictures with these random people, and the one that was my date was like, "Ha, you should send that to me." And me being freaking innocent and clueless just goes, "Okay. Wait, I don't have your number." Wait, did I just... How did I do that? So blah blah blah, I had this person's number now, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally meant to be all smooth like that to my friends, but in reality... technically, nah. I have no idea what I'm doing. They end up asking me to the movies, and I was like, okay. But my parents didn't want me to go alone, so they made me invite Kate and her boyfriend at the time to go as a double date. So we all go to the movies, and since I literally don't know anything about this person, we didn't know what to talk about. The whole time. It was all just flop conversations like, so how was your day? Good, how about you? Good. What's your favorite color? It was really, I can't, It was scarring. Like, I'm serious. I will never accept any movie invitations unless it's with close friends or family. Ever. All that comes to my mind when I think of movie theaters are just flashbacks. Like, I don't want to relive that. I already lived through it once. That's quite enough. No more, please. So that story wasn't too bad, just awkward tension. Come on, let's bump it up a bit. Awkward first kiss. So, hey, my first date was with someone I literally didn't know. You think I'd learn my lesson and would kind of get to know someone before I accepted date invitations, right? Wrong. Hint, I'm bad at saying no to people. Also, this was my second date ever. Just putting that fact out there. During my freshman year in college, this person invited me to go on a date, and yeah, I didn't know them either. Like at all. I've learned my lesson now, okay? We meet up and decide to eat at a restaurant, and heyo, I'll save some time just by saying it was going very similar to my first date. Exposition time. My college has this mountain near it called A Mountain, and people like to hike it. Well, it's really not even a hike, more like walking up at a mild angle. So we wind up walking up a mountain and sitting on a rock platform at the top, and we continue attempting at a normal conversation, not really succeeding. At one point, they put their arm around me. Come to think of it, all these stories are kind of coming full circle and I never realized, and I'm kind of freaking out. And I kind of start panicking to myself. Okay, I see where this is going, but I don't know if I want to end up kissing them. Like, I literally know nothing about this person, again, and I haven't kissed anyone yet. What is even happening right now? Oh golly, jeez. And all of a sudden, they grab my face and turn it towards them, and I'm going, I see what's about to happen, but crap, I don't know if I want to kiss them yet. I ran out of time. So anyone who just happens to take a date up to the top of a mountain and sit on the platform thing, you'll be sitting in the same spot I accidentally got kissed by someone. And if you're there, take a picture and tweet it at me. I'd say preferably of you guys kissing, but that's kind of weird. I mean, unless you want to. This last story isn't really about flirting or dates, but I think it's kind of funny. I was hanging out with an ex-friend, and we were walking along our college's main strip. It's a street called Mill, and it's got a bunch of stores, but that's kind of weird. I mean, unless you want to. This last story isn't really about flirting or dates, but I think it's kind of funny. I was hanging out with an ex-friend, and we were walking along our college's main strip. It's a street called Mill, and it's got a bunch of stores and restaurants along it. And just because I like how all these stories are kind of connecting, the restaurant First Kiss and I went to was on this strip too. We sat down at a bench outside a shop, and these two passerbys go, "Aw, relationship goals," as they walk into the shop. We kind of looked at each other and laughed and just kept talking. Then a few minutes later, the same people left the store and walked by us again, and were like, "So how long have you guys been together?" And we were like we froze. And after a bit, I just go, "He's gay." Their faces were like, "We made a mistake." Let's start off being honest right off the bat. I have no idea what this video is. I just had a random idea in my head. What if I tried to make a video that has literally no point to it? So here we are. Over the course of like a month or two, I started jotting down some of the random things that have crossed my brain and stuff along that line. Not the kind that are philosophical or have a deeper meaning, just the stupid ones. This video might change the way you view me as a person. Whatever, I don't care. Let's get started. I was going through my phone contacts the other week, and I was like, you know what? I want to get rid of the people I don't really need to have in here. Some contact spring cleaning. So I started deleting people I've never talked to, and the further in I got, the more I was thinking, who are these people? Where'd they even come from? Jacob Acorn? I've never met a Jacob Acorn before, the frick? And then there'd be people where I only added their first name. Ashley, I'm assuming Newberry? Yeah, delete. I don't talk to her. Ooh, wait, wrong Ashley. Well, I accidentally just permanently erased some other Ashley from my life. Also, that whole process made me realize I have way less friends than I thought I did. Like, I didn't have too many to begin with, but I deleted a lot more people than I thought I would, and my contact list is far smaller than it was before. What if dogs were the humans of the earth? Like, instead of a human society, it was dogs. What would they create? Would they build a government? What would their education system be? Would they create dog hobbies and dog sports? I'm not talking about the typical throwing frisbees and tennis balls. Maybe they'd create a game where they wear face harnesses with a scoop that can hold a ball, and they have to toss the ball into a hole on opposite sides of the court, each hole providing a different amount of points depending on its difficulty. Kind of like soccer or football combined with basketball. And there's teams, so they need to strategize and work together to win against the other dogs. Would they create art and music and invent things? Do they have passions that we couldn't think of? Like, if humans were just a wild animal, it would be much harder for us to realize that, say, playing a saxophone was your passion, because, wild animals can't invent saxophones, silly. So you'd never discover that side of yourself. But what if dogs could discover their passions and creative sides like humans? I'd want to go to a dog art museum and see what kind of art they'd make. Aren't you curious? If dogs had the intelligence and creativity of humans, what would they do with it? Could they run Earth better than we are? In a weird way, I'd kinda hope so. In horror movies, why is it always the piano that's the haunted, pretentious, scary instrument? I've seen the scenarios where pianos play themselves, the keys are smashed down to make a really ugly sound, maybe the occasional lid will slam down and kill someone. Is it because people see them as elegant yet ominous at the same time, setting up a good atmosphere? I want to watch a horror movie where instead of walking into a big empty room with a haunted grand piano in the center, a character walks into a big empty room and sees a ghost playing. A character walks into a big empty room and sees a ghost playing. I'd be much more engaged in a movie like that. Just saying. Why does nobody talk about half-popped popcorn kernels? They're just as good as the full-popped ones. After you've consumed 97% of your popcorn, you get to the kernels at the bottom, and instead of throwing them all away, you should crunch on the ones that are semi-popped. Heck! If you don't eat the half-popped kernels, you're missing out on some of the best things in life. One time I was at the grocery store getting groceries. Yeah, great script right in there, Jaden. That was poetic. And at the checkout, I could tell the cashier was new at her job. Not like she was doing everything wrong, but you could see she didn't have the fluid motion down of a professional grocery store scanner. Those people have it down like it's an art form. It's beautiful in a strange way. So she was scanning the things, and she got to the cilantro. You probably know this, but you can't just put a barcode sticker on cilantro. I think some stores will wrap a tag around it, but the place I was at just had a serial code that the cashier had to manually punch in. So the girl was flipping through the book that had all the serial codes in it, and she couldn't find the cilantro code. I've never mentally connected so much with a stranger before, because I knew exactly what was going on in her head. She was trying to quickly find the code because she didn't want to feel like she was taking up time by being slow, but in the stress of trying to quickly find the cilantro, her brain was getting frantic, which made her gradually start internally freaking out even more because she felt like she was taking way too much time trying to find the code, repeat cycle getting more and more intense every time, and maybe after a minute of her trying to find the code, she just silently put the cilantro in the bag. She gave me free cilantro out of panic. It was a good day. Also, did you know there's a website dedicated to hating cilantro? www.ihatecilantro.com. They write haikus. Stressing about a close deadline is kind of relaxing in a sociopathic kind of way. We've all done it. You procrastinated a bunch on a project and are in the phase of crap, because it's due tomorrow and it's already 10:45 p.m. and you've only got like 0% done. But if you think about it, it's kind of nice to see it as, well, I'm totally stressed and panicked out of my mind right now and would rather just self-implode. But this feeling is only gonna last for a few more hours, since the deadline's so close. If you didn't wait until the last minute, it would have been a less intense but drawn out feeling of dread while working, versus this approach, which even though is 10 times more mentally and emotionally draining and likely very bad for your health, only has to last for like one day, maybe even 12 hours if you really push it, so pick your battles. But don't say I told you which one to choose. I'm not responsible for any crummy projects you haphazardly spit out. That's still you. My parents' house had really big windows in the living room, and sometimes birds would fly into them. Most often hummingbirds. Whenever one did, I would go outside to where it landed, and if it didn't die from slamming headfirst into a window, I would pick it up and help it calm down and recover from being stunned. A lot of people would probably say not to do that because it's a wild bird that can have wild bird diseases. And they're probably right, but imagine if you did that with humans. Some kid is outside running around, they blindly run right into a tree and collapse on the ground. You run over to help them, and when you get to them, you go, Sorry, kid, you've got a cold. Can't help you out, buddy. Also, are you envious that I've gotten to hold a hummingbird before? One even fluttered around me when it recovered. I'm a bird master. Like I said in the beginning, I was jotting all these down over a relatively long period of time, so I didn't just write all these in one go. And after looking at the list I made, I realized I wrote half-popped popcorn 2 separate times at different occasions. I guess past Jaden just felt extremely compelled to talk about half-popped popcorn. It is really good though. Why do kids on the internet feel the need to tell their age so frequently? You see it all the time. I'm 13. I'm 6. I'm 2. Is there a reason they do it? Do they think it's vital information they need to convey? Whenever I see a comment that starts with, I'm 9, and my brain kinda automatically writes off whatever they're about to complain about, I'm not saying people these ages don't say anything valuable to me. I really enjoy seeing, I'm 6 and really liked your video, because then it feels like that message was written with full child pureness. You know the kind. They're still innocent beings that haven't experienced the cruelness of reality yet, but any other time, it's just a detail that adds nothing else to their statement. One time I got an email that said, I love your vids, I'm 7. So I responded with, thanks. I'm 19. Do they feel like they're obligated to express their age? Do they think they're asserting dominance? Is it an accomplishment to them? More mysteries I have yet to find out. Welcome back to Random Thoughts. This time, part 2 edition. I want to talk about random things that cross my mind, but can't stretch them into their own videos, so I'm shambling them all together to make a weird video that's a whole caboodle of nonsense. If you haven't seen my first Random Thoughts video, you don't need to watch that one first to understand this one. Thinking about it, you could pretty much jump in at any point of either of these videos, and you'll be fine since it's nothing but a melting pot of balderdash. Thesource.com is giving me a rainbow of colorful words today. Poppycock. Are there limits to what you can call a fork? There's 3-pronged forks and 4-pronged forks. Can a knife be classified as a 1-pronged sharp fork? You use them both to stab things. Well, I guess knives are more slicing and cutting. Can a sword be classified as a 1-pronged super sharp fork? Those things were definitely both created to stab. Can a fork fall in the category of a tiny, really dull 4-pronged sword? Is there a spectrum of fork to knife to sword? Back in like the Renaissance era, what if rivals said, Sir, I challenge you to a super sharp 1-pronged fork duel? Or even, what if, Sir, I challenge you to a dull 4-pronged tiny sword duel? Oh no! He brought a less dull, tiny, 1-pronged forked sword! So you know bananas? Those yellow things? I don't know about your life, but I always grew up not eating any bruises on bananas. There's nothing wrong with bruised bananas. They're the same as any normal, non-bruised banana. I think. I just did research, as in the first result on Google, and it says for bananas to ripen, they start to make a hormone called ethylene, which sounds like an ingredient in gasoline, but it's not. It's what turns bananas from their super gross green bitter phase to the softer, sweeter, and quite frankly, more superior yellow phase. Yay, ethylene! But apparently, ethylene doesn't know how to chill out, so even when a banana's at the perfect ripeness, the ethylene is like, no, I think we can keep going. I think we can be even more ripe. What's the worst that can happen? So the banana just tries to infinitely get more ripe, which is what eventually turns it mushy and brown. No, ethylene. And isn't that just a metaphor for life? You can't endlessly chase the image of banana perfection you have in your head, little banana. You should try to stop and appreciate the ripeness you're at every once in a while. Or else you'll keep working towards something unachievable and get all mushy. Banana body positivity. Unless you're a green banana. Then I hate you. So the dark spots are basically just the banana starting to get too ripe, which means they're harmless. But they used to freak me out a lot, so I'd have to cut them off or something to be able to enjoy the rest of the banana. And then I started thinking, what if there was a banana monster that ate humans? Would they want to eat the bruises on humans?
My eating schedule has been so weird since I started